Chapter 4969. Seeing that the majestic decorated archway was already in sight, suddenly, on the edge of the pure white clouds on the white jade carvings, strands of fire appeared. In an instant the strands of fire dyed the clouds. Buzz buzz buzz. The flower carvings trembled slightly, and in the midst of the rumbling, the burning clouds surged out from the flower carvings, transforming into the shape of a fire snake that enveloped Xiao Hua, and even covered the front of the decorated archway. Yes, these are the fire snakes I saw outside. Xiao Hua glanced at these fire snakes, then used his divine sense to scan inside the archway. There was a restriction around the archway that blocked divine sense, but Xiao Hua's divine sense was incomparably powerful. This restriction was simply unable to block it. His divine sense broke through the restriction and immediately turned into a thread, like a spring breeze blowing past. He could clearly see the situation inside the archway. Then Xiao Hua raised his hand and grabbed. A spatial whirlpool appeared in mid-air. Swish! Although the fierce fire snake struggled with all its might, it was still sucked into the whirlpool. In just a few breaths it turned into a thumb-sized fire pearl. Xiao Hua took the fire pearl, then put it into his bosom. His figure floated over the archway and landed in the maze. Xiao Hua's figure passed through the archway. Light flashed in front of his eyes. It was actually another space. This space was a lotus pond. Taoist Yuan Kong, Zhuangchan, Beauty Yu and Bai Fei, who came in earlier, were standing beside the lotus pond. The four of them looked at the lotus flowers with a dignified expression. Xiao Hua had yet to walk to the side of the four people when his figure unconsciously stopped. He raised his head to look at the sky, and his eyes revealed a look of understanding. Above Xiao Hua's head was a patch of chaos, and an inexplicable light shone down from above, illuminating the space. However, above Xiao Hua's head, the heavenly wind continued to appear, and this time, the heavenly wind was much more powerful than before. Like willow catkins, spatial folds drifted down with the heavenly wind. Where these spatial folds landed, some extremely powerful spatial power was born, and they were like flying swords that pierced everywhere without a destination. Taoist Xiao. Bai Fei did not turn back, but said in a low voice, "Come and see. How can this lotus pond maze be broken? It can't be." Xiao Hua withdrew his gaze. As he walked, he said in surprise, "Fellow Taoist Bai, how could I possibly break the formation that even you couldn't break?" Taoist Master Yuan Kong turned his head to look at Xiao Hua and said with some displeasure, "Taoist Master Xiao, everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. Every one of us cultivators who can cultivate to nascent soul is not a simple character. None of us know where we can contribute our strength. I'm just afraid that I'll lose my confidence first. Without confidence, how can I break the formation?" "Brainstorm," Zhuangchan said in a muffled voice. Xiao Hua walked to the side of the lotus pond and didn't release his divine sense like everyone else. Instead he glanced around. It was a lotus pond with sparse lotus leaves. Some of the lotus leaves under their feet touched the edge of the pond. Moreover, in the areas where the lotus leaves were densely packed, there were also many lotus leaves stacked together. At first glance, it looked like a small path in a paddy field in the countryside. It was impossible to tell which path led to the opposite shore. "Oh, why are you looking at the lotus leaves?" Xiao Hua faintly smiled and reminded, "Can't we just fly over?" Taoist Master Yuan Kong glared at Xiao Hua and scolded, "Why don't you try flying? Can't you see the overlapping restrictions on the lotus pond? Even divine sense will be strangled to death. Can we just casually fly over?" Xiao Hua shrugged and didn't say anything else. After all, with different cultivation and strength, the method of breaking the formation would be different. "Fellow Taoist Bai," Taoist Master Yuan Kong said and carefully looked at the lotus leaves in the lotus pond. He pointed at one of the lotus leaves and said, "Look at that lotus leaf." Then Bai Fei and Taoist Master Yuan Kong discussed how to walk over the lotus leaves in the pond. Xiao Hua looked at it for half a cup of tea's time and suddenly his eyes lit up. He clapped his hands and laughed. "Haha, I understand." Taoist Master Yuan Kong somewhat disdainfully glanced at Xiao Hua and didn't pay him any attention. He still wanted to say something, but Bai Fei, who was discussing with him, turned his head and asked, "Taoist Master Xiao, what do you understand?" Before it was fellow Taoist Yuan Kong who put in the effort. "This time it's time for I to show my face." Xiaohua smiled and pointed at the lotus leaves in the pond and said, I recognize this formation. Oh, you actually recognize this formation? Taoist Master Yuankong didn't dare to believe it. He looked at the pond and then at Xiaohua and asked curiously, Tell me, what kind of formation is this? Actually, Xiaohua didn't hide and replied, This can't be considered a formation. It should be called a simple formation. This formation is called the 9 Palace 8 Trigrams formation. 9 Palace 8 Trigrams formation? What kind of formation is that? Bai Fei also didn't understand and asked, How come this Bai has never heard of it? Xiaohua pointed at the lotus leaves in the pond and explained the 9 Palace 8 Trigrams formation. In the end, he said, I entered the Tao through martial arts. In my early years, I practiced martial arts and also studied formations. Therefore, I am very familiar with this 9 Palace 8 Trigrams formation. Haha, really, this old man thought that this was a formation for immortal cultivators. I didn't expect it to be a formation for mortal cultivators. No wonder this old man didn't recognize it. Taoist Master Yuankong laughed and said, How could Bai Fei not know? He just wanted to avoid suspicion and prevent others from knowing that he obtained a secret treasure from fallen Phoenix Mountain. At this time, he slightly frowned and carefully looked at the lotus pond. He carefully said, Taoist Master Xiao, are you sure? How could a formation commonly used by martial artists appear in this secret formation? Xiaohua nodded affirmatively and said, I can be sure of this formation. As for why there is a formation used by mortals here, I don't know. Beauty Yu smiled and said, If that's the case, Taoist Master Xiao, do you dare to break the formation first? Of course. Xiaohua looks at the silver wolf of the demon race, nods and says, Since this 9 Palace 8 Trigrams formation was seen through by this poor Taoist, naturally this poor Taoist should be the first to break the formation. You wait and see how this poor Taoist moves. Just remember it in your heart. As he spoke, Xiaohua's figure floated and landed on a lotus leaf not far away. Sure enough, there was a strong restriction above the lotus pond. It was extremely difficult for nascent soul cultivators to break through. They could only move on the lotus leaf. Where Xiaohua landed, the lotus leaf solidified as if it was a stone. Soon after, Xiaohua walked through the lotus pond safely as if he was taking a stroll in a courtyard and reached the other side. As Xiaohua's figure landed, light and shadow also appeared on the other side. A transparent crystal-like wall appeared in front of Xiaohua. At the same time, a hole that was several zhang in size appeared on the wall. Bai Fei and the others were all nascent soul cultivators. As Xiaohua walked through the lotus leaves, they had already memorized the places where Xiaohua stopped. Seeing that Xiaohua had arrived safely, one by one, they followed Xiaohua's path and reached the opposite shore. Not bad. Taoist Master Yuankong stepped on the ground and nodded. Taoist Master Xiao, this old man will remember this merit for you. Okay. Then I'll have to trouble fellow Taoist Yuankong. Xiaohua replied. He pointed at the hole and said, This must be another maze. Fellow Taoist Yuankong, are you going to go first again? Of course. Taoist Master Yuankong's gaze swept past the hole and said, This old man will not turn back. Xiaohua and the others followed Taoist Master Yuankong into the hole. In front of them was a somewhat curved tunnel. This tunnel was at least 100 zhang wide. Inside the tunnel, one's divine sense was restricted and couldn't go very far. However, there was no restriction on magic power, so everyone could still fly. However, the heavenly wind began to blow in from the inside of the tunnel. In some places, the heavenly wind even caused spatial cracks to surge like waves, making this tunnel filled with danger. Taoist Master Yuankong led everyone to carefully avoid the wind and cautiously moved forward. After flying for half a day, 2 forks appeared in front of them. Taoist Master Yuankong stopped in front of the fork and looked left and right. He was a bit hesitant. He looked at Bai Fei and asked, Fellow Taoist Bai, do you have any way to determine which direction we should go? Bai Fei frowned and thought for a moment. Then he slapped his own head and released his nascent soul. Afterwards, his nascent soul formed hand seals and several butterfly-like colorful figures entered the 2 tunnels. After a cup of tea's worth of time, the butterfly-like figures returned from the 2 tunnels. Bai Fei put away his nascent soul and bitterly smiled. Fellow Taoist Yuankong, these 2 tunnels are connected. Tell me, which one should we go? This one. Taoist Master Yuan Kong hesitated for a moment. Then he pointed to the left and said, "What do you think? Fellow Taoist Bai." "We'll listen to fellow Taoist." Bai Fei smiled and said, "We'll follow fellow Taoist's lead. Naturally, we'll listen to fellow Taoist's decision." "Good, then we'll go this one." Taoist Master Yuan Kong was very happy. He decisively flew into the tunnel on the left. However, after flying for another half a day and avoiding many dangers, 3 more forks appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Damn it! How could Taoist Master Yuan Kong not know that he chose the wrong tunnel? He cursed and helplessly looked at Bai Fei. "Fellow Taoist Bai, I'll have to trouble fellow Taoist again." "No problem." Bai Fei nodded and used his secret technique again. This time it was just as strange. 2 butterfly-like figures flew back from the left and right tunnels respectively. Taoist Master Yuan Kong didn't dare to hesitate. After thinking for a moment, he pointed to the left tunnel and said, Let's go this way." Xiao Hua and the others naturally didn't have any objections. Just like that, they flew for another half a day. This time it was even more lively. 4 forks appeared in front of everyone's eyes. This time Taoist Master Yuan Kong didn't want to trouble Bai Fei anymore. He turned to Beauty Yu and said, "Fellow Taoist, do you have any methods?" Beauty Yu didn't say anything and took out a palm-sized object from her bosom. This object was in the shape of a small wolf carved from jade. As Beauty Yu spat out a mouthful of blood, the small wolf roared and turned into 4 identical jade wolves that rushed into the tunnel. In just the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the 4 jade wolves returned and turned into one. Beauty Yu raised her hands and pointed to the 2 tunnels without saying anything. "It's still this way." Taoist Master Yuan Kong originally wanted to point to the right, but with a thought, he pointed to the left and said, "This old man doesn't believe in heresy." P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support it. Vote a monthly vote, vote a recommendation vote, collect a collection, reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 4970. Cough cough. At this moment Bai Fei coughed and reminded, "Fellow Taoist Yuan Kong, I have something I don't know if I should say?" "Oh, if fellow Taoist Bai has something to say, please say it." Taoist Yuan Kong's heart thumped as he hurriedly asked, "Could it be that fellow Taoist thinks we should take the right path?" Bai Fei shook his head and said, "I only feel that when we flew past a few forks in the road, there were always 2 paths that led to survival. Should we understand it this way, that these 2 paths must be taken at the same time, in order to reach the final destination?" Bai Fei's suggestion at first sounded a bit inconceivable, but after thinking about it carefully, it made sense. Thus, Taoist Yuan Kong frowned, somewhat unable to make a decision. Seeing that Taoist Yuan Kong did not speak, Bai Fei simply said, "How about this, fellow Taoist Yuan Kong? I will take the right path with Taoist Xiao, and you, fellow Taoist Shuang and Fairy, you will take the left path. How about this?" "All right." Hearing Bai Fei's determined tone, Taoist Yuan Kong was somewhat helpless. After hesitating for a moment, he nodded and said, "I hope fellow Taoist Bai's judgment is correct." "All right, Taoist Xiao and I will wait for you inside." Bai Fei gave Xiao Hua a look and flew into the right path first. Xiao Hua did not understand why Bai Fei was like this, and could only urge his body to fly in as well. Xiao Hua was originally most afraid of this kind of maze, and had already released some of his divine sense to check it out. However, this maze was simply too big, and after looking for a while he felt a bit dizzy. Moreover, he did not want to reveal his true strength in front of Bai Fei and the others, so he simply withdrew his divine sense and let them lead the way. The right path that Bai Fei flew into was even more complicated than before, and after flying for a while, another 4 forks appeared in front of them. Bai Fei was slightly happy and pointed at the 4 forks. "Look, Taoist Xiao, the number of forks is not increasing, which means that we are taking the right path." Damn it, actually, I already felt that there was something wrong with the direction that Taoist Yuan Kong chose. You should have explained it to Taoist Yuan Kong clearly. Xiao Hua was speechless and softly advised. "Think." Bai Fei coldly laughed and replied, "Do you think he will listen to what I say?" "He won't listen. He will only think that I am shaking his authority." "Didn't he listen this time?" Xiao Hua asked. That's because I didn't refute his choice and said that the tunnel on the left was the correct direction. Bai Fei hit the nail on the head. If I only said that the right path was correct, do you think he would agree to take the right path? Even if he wants to die, I don't want to die. All right. Xiaohua shrugged his shoulders. Looking at these 4 forks that were almost exactly the same, he asked, now that there are also 4, which one should we take? Does Taoist Master Xiao have any suggestions? Bai Fei narrowed his eyes as he looked at Xiaohua and asked meaningfully. Of course. Xiaohua faintly smiled, raised his finger, and pointed at the 4 forks one by one. His mouth even pretended to say, point out the soldiers, point out the generals, ride a horse, go to war, have money to drink, don't have money to scram, egg, who is the bastard Hami Melon, you me him, which princess will marry him? When Xiaohua finished his last word, his finger pointed at the first fork on the left. Xiaohua said without hesitation, if it's I, then I will take this path. Seeing Xiaohua so solemnly point out the soldiers, Bai Fei felt a headache coming on. He looked at Xiaohua in disbelief and said, That's how you decided? That's right. Xiaohua nodded without hesitation and said, I am most afraid of this kind of maze. Previously I had struggled, thought of many methods and also comprehended many secret techniques. But in reality, in the end, I found that this method was the simplest and most convenient. Damn it, I was defeated by you. Bai Fei was speechless. He couldn't help but curse in a low voice. It was unknown whether he was talking about Xiaohua and the others not putting in effort, or Xiaohua's choice that was almost like a joke. Then what about fellow Taoist? Xiaohua looked at Bai Fei with an innocent face and asked. All right. Bai Fei stared deeply at Xiaohua and said, since I want to join hands with Taoist Master Xiao, then I can't not let Taoist Master Xiao see my methods. Otherwise, how can Taoist Master Xiao believe in me? Hearing Bai Fei say Taoist Master Xiao, it was as if Bai Fei had some deep hatred for him. Xiaohua couldn't help but be surprised. Xiaohua didn't know that he had already become Bai Fei's inner demon. After Bai Fei finished speaking, he raised his hand and took out a purple-skinned gourd from his waist. This gourd was engraved with many flowers, birds, fish, insects, and other things. Moreover, each flower, bird, fish, and insect was made up of even smaller talismans. A faint desolate aura was emitted from this purple-skinned gourd. Bai Fei picked up the gourd, formed a seal and hid it. The gourd emitted a purple brilliance and floated in the air. As the brilliance shone, the flowers, birds, fish, and insects on the gourd seemed to come alive and moved in the brilliance. After waiting for a while, seeing that the gourd had expanded several times, Bai Fei opened his mouth again. Quick! A mantra entered the gourd, and a purple aura rushed out of the gourd. Hundreds of golden light spots flew out. These light spots expanded with the wind, and in just a few breaths, they had turned into hundreds of fist-sized spirit insects. Gold-devouring insects? Xiaohua was stunned. He looked at these spirit insects with some surprise and whispered, how can these gold-devouring insects be so big? Yes, they are gold-devouring insects. Bai Fei answered indifferently, but there was no lack of pride in his tone. All right, Taoist Master Bai is really amazing. You can cultivate gold-devouring insects to such a big size. Xiaohua shrugged, not knowing what to say. He also had gold-devouring insects in his space, but they had never been this big. In addition to gold-devouring insects, there were spirit-devouring insects, wood-devouring insects, and so on Shanhua continent, but those spirit insects were not this powerful. It's not just the size. Bai Fei laughed. Later, you will know the power of these gold-devouring insects. As he spoke, Bai Fei released his divine sense and it fell on the gold-devouring insects. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As his divine sense fell, the gold-devouring insects immediately became noisy and excitedly swam in the air, crazily devouring Bai Fei's divine sense. After a while, hundreds of spirit-devouring insects divided into 4 groups and rushed into the 4 forks. When all the gold-devouring insects had entered the forks, Bai Fei withdrew his remaining divine sense, his face slightly pale. Seeing this, Xiaohua understood the method Bai Fei used to raise the gold-devouring insects. He shook his head helplessly and smiled bitterly. Taoist Master Bai, you are also going all out. Since you and I have the cultivation method, why do we have to go to the lost place? We can do the same in Yilin continent. Don't mention this again. The more Xiaohua was unwilling to go to the lost place, the more relieved Bai Fei was. Moreover, Xiao Hua's words were full of concern, which made the selfish Bai Fei somewhat moved. However, he was still vigilant and waved his hand. I have already made a decision. If you want to go, I will take care of you. If you don't want to go, I will definitely not force you. After the time it took to eat a meal, more than half of the hundreds of gold-devouring insects had returned. Moreover, most of these gold-devouring insects had flown out from the 3 forks on the right. When Bai Fei took out the purple gourd to collect the gold-devouring insects, he looked at Xiao Hua meaningfully and said, Taoist Master Xiao, it seems that your luck is not bad. This casual point is the same as the effect of my secret technique. It seems that from now on I will have to rely on your luck. Of course, Xiao Hua smiled indifferently. It's just a small matter. I am very happy to serve you, Taoist Master Bai. Of course, Bai Fei wouldn't believe Xiao Hua's casual words. The next 2 forks in the road, Bai Fei still relied on a large number of gold-devouring beetles to search for a way out, and the number of forks remained unchanged at 4. After passing through the second fork, Bai Fei brought Xiao Hua through a cave entrance. As usual, a gold-devouring insect flew out from this cave entrance. Just as it was about to enter the purple gourd, Bai Fei suddenly stopped. He looked at the cave entrance thoughtfully and said to Xiao Hua, Taoist Master Xiao, I will have to trouble you to wait here for a moment. I have some things to do. Xiao Hua did not understand, but he still nodded and said, Taoist Master Bai, please do as you wish. I will wait here. Bai Fei flew into the cave entrance for about an hour. Xiao Hua stayed outside the cave entrance and quietly waited. Xiao Hua was originally a gentleman, so he disdained to investigate what Bai Fei was doing inside the cave entrance. Therefore, he did not know that after Bai Fei flew into the cave entrance, he released more than 10 gold-devouring insects nearby. Bai Fei flew out of the cave entrance. Xiao Hua smiled and asked, Taoist Master Bai, can we go now? Bai Fei looked at Xiao Hua with satisfaction and said, Let's go. We have wasted quite a bit of time. We should speed up. Seeing Bai Fei's inexplicable friendliness, Xiao Hua understood that he did not investigate Bai Fei's secrets in exchange for a favorable impression. He did not mind and followed Bai Fei into the cave entrance once again. In fact, after Bai Fei entered the cave entrance, Xiao Hua also released his divine sense and carefully examined the surrounding thousand li. Contrary to Xiao Hua's expectations, this maze formation was actually very large. His divine sense covered the entire area, and he did not see any wind underworld wheel. Moreover, the forks in front of him were still as numerous as a spider web. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept across his back and his back unconsciously broke out in cold sweat. This maze formation for a direction idiot like him was his weakness. After flying for about the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Bai Fei retrieved many gold-devouring insects from the various caves. Seeing that there was a rather large space in front of him, the 4 forks in the path were faintly visible. Suddenly, Xiao Hua's eyebrows twitched and a strange smile appeared on his face. Bai Fei naturally did not notice. He was still looking forward. At this moment, a cold voice sounded from the front of his head. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, gift, and thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 4971. The voice of the late nascent soul stage cultivator Ji came from afar. I thought the cultivator Xiao Yezi praised was a genius. I've been waiting here for a long time, and you've only just arrived. Who? Bai Fei turned pale with fright, and cried out involuntarily. When Jiyu's figure appeared in front of him, Bai Fei was in disbelief. He pointed at Jiyu and said, You? How can you be here? Bai Fei, since you can come here, why can't I? Jiyu smiled faintly. How can you know the abilities of late nascent soul stage cultivators like me? Fellow Taoist, quickly follow this Bai. When Bai Fei heard this, he immediately understood Jiyu's thoughts. Without saying another word, he decisively waved his hand at Xiao Hua, and his figure flew backwards, fleeing towards the path they came from. Where can you escape to now that you've entered the maze? Jiyu's figure flashed, turning into a rainbow as he chased after them. Bai Fei understood Jiyu's intention, so how could Xiao Hua not know? Xiao Hua did not want to get involved in this kind of jealous dispute. However, Bai Fei had called out to him before he left. It was obvious that he wanted Xiao Hua to join forces with him. Seeing that Bai Fei was walking towards Xiao Hua with an unfriendly gaze, Xiao Hua cursed in his heart. He also moved and followed Bai Fei's back, pretending to escape. It had to be said that Bai Fei was clean and nimble. Xiao Hua used the magic power of a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator, but he could only see his back. Jiyu, who was behind Xiao Hua, was also like a cat catching a mouse, not particularly close. However, in less than half a cup of tea's time, Bai Fei's flying speed suddenly slowed down. Xiao Hua caught up and saw that Bai Fei's face was somewhat pale. He said worriedly, "Fellow Taoist Bai, could it be?" "Ah, that's right." Bai Fei sighed. "Just now I used too much of my divine sense. Now there's a backlash. Fellow Taoist, I've dragged you down." Xiao Hua looked back at Jiyu, who was neither fast nor slow. He frowned and said, "I feel that the two of you haven't reached the point of life and death." Unfortunately, before Xiao Hua could finish speaking, Jiyu's divine sense, mixed with pressure, rushed over. Bai Fei was somewhat panicked. How could he still care about arguing with Xiao Hua? He urged his body to speed up again. Of course, this speed was like drinking poison to quench one's thirst. It didn't take long for Bai Fei to slow down again. Jiyu, who was behind him, sneered, "Bai Fei, you can't escape from me. Just stop obediently." Bai Fei sneered and spat out a mouthful of blood essence. His body glowed brightly and his flying speed increased again. Xiao Hua furrowed his brows. He had already seen some clues. Although Jiyu was a late-stage nascent soul cultivator and seemed to be a cat that hunted a mouse, wasn't Bai Fei, who possessed late-stage nascent soul strength, also casting a long line to catch a big fish? I'd like to see which one of them is more ruthless. The corner of Xiao Hua's mouth curled up as he pretended to be terrified of being silenced by Jiyu. He forced himself to chase after Bai Fei. In just a short moment, Bai Fei's flying speed slowed down for the third time. Furthermore, Bai Fei's face was extremely pale. It was obvious that his vitality had been greatly damaged. Xiao Hua flew in front of him and raised his hand, wanting to pull Bai Fei back. However, Bai Fei was struggling. He rushed towards the hole in front of him and whispered, "Quick, follow this Bai-in." After saying that, without waiting for Xiao Hua's reply, his body swayed a little, but he still rushed into the cave like a drunkard. Damn it! Although Xiao Hua had no sense of direction, he wasn't blind. He glanced around and immediately realized that this was the cave that Bai Fei had entered for half a day. Could it be? Xiao Hua suddenly felt a sense of vigilance and said in surprise, "Bai Fei already knew that Jiyu would kill him in the bewildering array?" Thinking of this, Xiao Hua recalled the words that Bai Fei said behind Jiyu's back on the special envoy's flying boat. He was secretly surprised. No. It wasn't Bai Fei who knew. It was Bai Fei who lured Jiyu into the maze. He provoked Jiyu on the flying boat so that Jiyu could enter the maze to kill him. He had already set up an ambush here and was prepared to kill Jiyu. Damn it, this Bai Fei schemes are too deep. However, thinking of this, Xiao Hua was puzzled again. That's not right. Why does Bai Fei want to kill Jiyu? Is it just for Yiyun? Could it be that Bai Fei likes Yiyun very much and wants to marry her? Damn it, if that's the case, then it's the biggest joke in the world. Bai Fei only has benefits in his eyes. How can there be love? I'll go back and see what's so special about Yiyun. While Xiao Hua was thinking, Bai Fei had already rushed into the cave. Xiao Hua's figure didn't stop and followed closely behind. Haha. Jiyu saw Bai Fei and Xiao Hua escape into the cave and laughed. Bai Fei, you're wasting your time. The path you're escaping is a dead end. Oh, I understand. You're preparing to ambush this young master from inside? As he spoke, Jiyu waved his hand and summoned a magic treasure that looked like a seal to protect him. Then Jiyu urged his figure and boldly rushed into the cave. As Xiao Hua flew into the cave, it was a winding passageway. Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed because he already saw hundreds of gold-devouring beetles hiding in the depths of the passageway's walls. These gold-devouring beetles were scattered throughout the several hundred feet long passageway. Divine sense couldn't easily discover them. Moreover, when Xiao Hua flew through the passageway, he was alarmed again, because this was a space that was 1,000 feet in size. Bai Fei was standing dispiritedly at the back of the space. When Bai Fei saw Xiao Hua fly in, he hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Fellow Taoist, quickly come over." However, within the several hundred feet of Bai Fei in the void, Xiaohua could clearly see that a sword formation had already been set up. Xiaohua was truly convinced by Bai Fei's schemes. If such a shrewd cultivator couldn't cultivate to a high level, then which cultivator could? However, Xiaohua only pretended not to see and asked with concern, "Fellow Taoist, how are you? We flew into a dead end. I'm afraid we'll have to fight this Jiyu." Fellow Taoist, don't worry. Bai Fei hurriedly transmitted, "Didn't I just come in? Just in case, I've already set up a backup plan in the passageway. You and I only need to resist his attacks and consume his magic power. I'll guarantee your safety." "Good," Xiaohua said happily. "Then I'll listen to your arrangements." "That's right," Bai Fei complained. "Fellow Taoists should listen to me. If you follow me, you won't be at a disadvantage. Today, I'll let you see how I'll kill a late nascent soul stage cultivator." That's not possible, right?" Xiaohua said in surprise. "You and I are only around the middle nascent soul stage. Even with fellow Taoists' help, it's impossible to kill a late nascent soul stage cultivator, right?" Fellow Taoist, guard over there." Bai Fei pointed at a place and said, "You and I will form a triangle. When I tell you to attack, you attack. If I don't tell you to attack, you absolutely can't attack. Today you'll see what I'll do. Of course, I also hope that this arrangement can help fellow Taoists make an early decision." "Okay." Xiaohua agreed and flew to the place opposite Bai Fei. He raised his hand and took out an ordinary flying sword to guard against Bai Fei. Xiaohua had just stood still when Jiyu flew in. He looked around in surprise and said, "This young master thought you'd launch a sneak attack at the turn of the passageway. I didn't expect you to only face the attack here. Could it be that you've already set up a formation in this space?" "That's right." Bai Fei smiled coldly. "This young master has already set up a formation in this space. As long as you fly close to this young master will activate the formation to kill you." "Haha, this young master is flying close." Jiyu laughed and flew closer, saying, "This young master wants to see what kind of formation you can set up in this short period of time." "Not close enough. Fly a little closer." Bai Fei also smiled and seemed to have a card up his sleeve. Jiyu naturally didn't believe him. He had already released his divine sense to investigate and didn't find anything strange. However, he stopped after flying for a few dozen feet. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Bai Fei, don't waste your time. This young master won't fall for your trick. You can set up whatever ambush you want. This young master can still kill you standing here." Bai Fei saw that Jiyu didn't fall for his trick and was helpless. He could only cry and say, "Senior Ji, this junior is a little confused. How did this junior offend you? You actually chased into the formation and blocked this young master's path? Do you still need this young master to say it?" Jiyu's face was filled with anger. He laughed frivolously and said, "Do you know why this young master put down his status as a district envoy and went to the worry-free manor? Do you think I'm going to pick up 2 nascent soul cultivators? This young master is going to pick up little Yi. But, you also saw what kind of attitude little Yi has towards this young master." At the mention of the worry-free manor, Jiyu was filled with anger. He actually flew a few dozen feet forward and was much closer to the sword formation that Bai Fei had set up in advance. Bai Fei was delighted, but his expression didn't change. He said indifferently, "Senior Ji, this junior is clear about what you're talking about. However, you should also know that ****** is the most normal thing. Yuner likes this junior and that's her business. It's also my fate with her. What right do you have to interfere?" "Yuner?" Jiyu's face was filled with malevolence. He flew a few dozen feet back and scolded, "What right do you have to call little Yi Yuner? How many days have you known her? Do you know? This young master saw little Yi when he was still an early nascent soul cultivator. At that time she was only 17 or 18 years old. When I saw her face and saw her smile, this young master knew that she was this young master's dual cultivation partner. Do you know how much this young master has done for little Yi so that she can cultivate in peace? Do you know how much the pills and other things this young master has given her are worth? Do you know how much effort this young master has put in order to protect her? Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it. Give it as a reward. Thank you for all forms of support." Chapter 4972. However, seeing that she was about to enter the nascent soul stage, I also made a lot of preparations for her pregnancy. After she was pregnant, I was going to propose to her. But right at this moment, a little brat like you just had to appear. Ji-Yu's face twisted and his eyes emitted a fierce light, as if he wanted to bite off a few pieces of meat from Bai Fei's body to satisfy his craving. I originally didn't know why she distanced herself from me after returning from the Wuming mountain range. I even tried my best to please her and heal her injuries, but I didn't expect that behind all of this was you. Tell me, can I let you go? I'll kill you today and cut off little Ye's thoughts. Let's see what else she wants to do. Alas, Senior Ji. Bai Fei saw that Ji-Yu was still some distance away from the sword formation and felt anxious. He was afraid that Ji-Yu would attack, so he sighed and said, "Speaking of which, this is a grudge between you and me. It has nothing to do with Taoist Master Xiao. No matter what the outcome is today, I think, can you let him leave first?" Oh, Ji-Yu was stunned. He was greatly puzzled. He looked at Bai Fei and then at Xiao Hua and asked curiously, "You actually want him to leave first? If he leaves, how can you be a match for me?" "Alas, I'm not a match for you." Bai Fei smiled bitterly and said, "Previously, I didn't know what you wanted to do. So I pulled this fellow Taoist and fled. Since it has nothing to do with him now, why should I let him stay here? Moreover, he only came to participate in the selection. If you and I were to fight, would you let him help me or watch from the sidelines?" "See," Ji-Yu sneered and said, "Are you an idiot or am I an idiot? If I wanted to kill you, would I let him leak the news? If this matter was known by the special envoy, wouldn't he scold me? He wants to leave. Don't even think about it." Bai Fei smiled helplessly at Xiao Hua and then said to Ji-Yu, "Senior Ji, actually what I want to say is, even if you kill me today, if Yuner doesn't see me, she'll think that I'm unlucky and have fallen in this bewildering array. Then you might not be able to win Yuner's heart. Today she likes me and tomorrow she might like someone else. You don't spend time on her but instead you try to kill me. Isn't that neglecting the essentials?" Yuner. Hearing Bai Fei mention Yuner again and again, Ji-Yu found it unbearable. He flew closer in a great rage and raised his hand to point at the seal above his head as he shouted, "Is this something you can call? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." The seal was similar to Xiao Hua's seal of overturning the sea. After it rushed into the air, a hurricane immediately appeared around it. Streams of heaven and earth spiritual chi rushed into it. Layers of shadows flashed and fell towards Bai Fei. The space several hundred feet around Bai Fei began to twist slightly, as a vast force pressed down from the sky. Bai Fei looked at Ji-Yu's figure that was only a few feet away from the sword array. He gritted his teeth and raised his hand. Boom! A green sword light soared into the sky and pierced towards the seal. The sword light was also amazing. It overflowed with brilliance and shattered the seal's shadow. The heavy pressure of the seal was also pierced through by the flying sword. Clang! The flying sword collided with the seal, and an ear-piercing sound of metal rang out. As expected, the flying sword was knocked back, and the seal also tumbled in the air. Roar! Seeing the seal tumbling, Ji-Yu was enraged. He raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. Boom! A crimson light shot up into the sky. Ji-Yu released the pressure of a late nascent soul stage cultivator. The crimson light condensed into a 100-zhong large hand in the air and grabbed at Bai Fei. Under this grab, Xiao Hua was also at the edge of the big hand's imprisonment. He saw fine lines appear above Bai Fei's head, and Bai Fei's figure couldn't even move. Xiao Hua was not anxious for Bai Fei, because not to mention the sword array's flying swords and the gold-devouring beetles that never appeared behind Ji-Yu, just Bai Fei's hidden late nascent soul stage strength was enough for him to not be at a disadvantage against a nascent soul stage cultivator. Fight! Bai Fei pretended to roar, and was also afraid of hitting his head. Boom! The green light was like a candle in the wind. It swayed and rushed out, turning into a big hand. This big hand was sparkling and translucent like jade. It reached out to grab Ji-Yu's nascent soul hand. Boom! The two big hands clasped together, and the entire space let out a loud roar. A wave of air surged out in all directions, and within this wave of air, the two big hands turned into fragments of light. Damn it! Ji-Yu didn't expect his nascent soul hand to be crushed. He roared and stretched out his left arm again. Woo! On Jiyu's left arm, strange blood patterns appeared. Jiyu's left arm turned into a tiger's claw and slashed through the air, landing on Bai Fei's head. This claw seemed to be able to tear the void. It was even more powerful than the nascent soul hand from before. Boom boom boom. Seeing Jiyu like this, Bai Fei wasn't nervous at all. His body also glowed with golden light, and under his Taoist robe, layers of golden scales gradually grew. The nearby heaven and earth spiritual qi turned into a hurricane and rushed into the gaps of the scales. Bai Fei's eyes were faintly golden. Those faintly golden eyes were staring at Jiyu's feet that had already stepped on the edge of the sword array. I'm afraid this is Bai Fei's true strength? Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes, waiting for Bai Fei's voice transmission. He looked at the changes on Bai Fei's body and thought to himself, he has a body that can fight against the demon clan. His true strength is also at the late nascent soul stage. I'm afraid he's going to suffer. However, just as Xiao Hua was watching the show, a sigh actually came out of Jiyu's mouth. The figure that had already stepped into the sword array retreated extremely quickly. At the same time, the light of the tiger claw that was descending was completely restrained. Under the light, Jiyu's lonely face was revealed. Even if I kill you, so what? Will little Yi be happy? As Jiyu retreated, he said worriedly, even if I marry her, if she finds out about what happened today, how can I face her? Although I like her, I want her to live a happy life. I want her to watch the sun rise every day and watch the moon illuminate the night sky. Bai Fei. Jiyu's figure stopped in the distance. His eyes were like lightning as he looked at Bai Fei and said, your strength is not bad. You can actually fight with this young master. And from the looks of it, you must have some hidden cards. With your strength and scheming, this young master can be at ease. However, Bai Fei, you must treat little Yi well. If this young master finds out that little Yi has been wronged, don't blame this young master for killing his way to your door. With that, Jiyu waved his hand again and a storage ring flew over. He said, there are 2 jade bottles inside. One is the emerald firefly pill that this young master asked for from the alliance master. The other is the golden pill that this young master asked for from the direct disciple of Taoist master Jin Shang. I just got it today and it is the most suitable for little Ye's injury. But since little Yi got on the flying boat, she has not seen this young master. This young master is not at ease to let others give these pills to her. So I can only let you go. You don't have to mention this young master's name for these pills. Consider it cheap for you. Also, the lost place is not a good place. With your strength, you won't have a good ending. This storage ring has the complete nascent soul cultivation method, which was personally modified by Senior Zhang Xiaohua. You wait and take it, quickly withdraw from the selection and find a place to meditate. With that, Jiyu did not wait for Bai Fei to say another word. His figure turned into a rainbow and rushed into the passage and disappeared. Ah? Bai Fei was dumbfounded. Xiaohua was also dumbfounded. The two of them looked at each other, almost not daring to believe their eyes. When Xiaohua came to his senses, he unconsciously groaned, damn it, isn't this a living fire qilin? Speaking of the fire qilin, Xiaohua couldn't help but feel a dull pain in his heart. He instantly thought of the situation when he took Xue to gain experience in the past. At that time, Xiaohua only had the strength of foundation establishment. Facing the coercion of 3 nascent soul cultivators, he didn't have any strength to resist. It was also because of the fire qilin's pure infatuation that Xiaohua and Xue avoided a disaster. Of course, it was also because of the fire qilin's infatuation that Xiaohua didn't have any special resentment towards the 3 elders of the ardent fire mountain. And now Xiaohua saw Jiyu again. This nascent soul cultivator didn't choose to kill or force his love rival who was weaker than him. Instead, he chose to retreat and endure. Although Bai Fei was extremely puzzled, Xiaohua could see from this retreat that Jiyu had an extremely strong love for Yun. Could it be that this Jiyu is sick? Bai Fei looked at the storage ring in front of him and didn't anxiously reach out to take it. Instead, he looked at Xiaohua inexplicably and whispered, or he saw through something? This is a trick to lure the enemy? Jiyu's departure was too sudden. Not only did Bai Fei not have time to activate the sword formation, he didn't even have time to activate the gold-devouring beetles in the passage. A faint uneasiness appeared in his heart, a kind of uneasiness that escaped from his calculations. Xiaohua shrugged and said casually, "This isn't something that I can know." However, it seems that he really did leave. Why is he like this? Who knows? Bai Fei, who had been scheming against others all his life and fighting for his own benefits, seemed to have never faced this kind of abandonment and letting go. When he heard Xiaohua's answer, he still didn't understand why Jiyu didn't fight with him. Could it be that the things in this world weren't all obtained by relying on one's own strength? However, when Xiaohua's figure moved and was about to leave the sword formation, Bai Fei's eyes showed a trace of sternness. He suddenly smiled and said, "Daoist Xiao." "Oh." Xiaohua unintentionally raised his head and asked, "What's wrong? I advise you to calm down a little." Bai Fei smiled faintly and replied, his face showing a cold intent. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support. Vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 4973. Calm down. Xiaohua was a little puzzled, but suddenly his face changed greatly. Sure enough, as soon as Bai Fei's voice landed, whoosh whoosh whoosh, a series of sounds like the spring rain brushing against one's face rang out. Right next to Xiaohua, thousands of sword lights appeared, like strands of hair, enveloping the space around Xiaohua. Waves of bone-chilling cold seeped out from the sword array, directly piercing into Xiaohua's heart. What is the meaning of this, fellow Taoist? Bai Xiaohua simply pretended to the end. Xiaohua asked in a panic. He just saw Jiyu's infatuation, and now he saw Bai Fei's scheme again. He only felt that Bai Fei was incomparably ugly. He didn't mind stretching out his little finger after Bai Fei made a move and gently crushed this little nascent soul stage cultivator to death. Let him truly become a waste. He rest assured, fellow Taoist. Bai Fei smiled slightly, and the coldness on his face suddenly disappeared. He said, "No matter what, you and I have experienced life and death together. I can't be ruthless to fellow Taoist. I only ask fellow Taoist to carefully consider the cooperation between you and me. In fact, fellow Taoist must have seen it just now. If Jiyu didn't stop in time, I absolutely have the confidence to kill this beast in this sword array. With my strength, you still don't feel at ease?" Xiaohua nodded and said, "Fellow Taoist, tell me, I understand. It's not that I don't feel at ease, and didn't I also say that I will go to the land of the Lost Lands? I'll go to the Lost Land. As for loyalty and assistance, we'll talk about it when we get there." It's precisely because of fellow Taoist's answer that I don't feel at ease. Bai Fei said with a fake smile, "If fellow Taoist doesn't go, I will feel more at ease. With one more nascent soul stage cultivator going to the land of the Lost Lands, wouldn't I have one more opponent?" "Alas, Bai Fei." Xiaohua sighed and said, "You really have too many schemes. I originally wanted to help you, but you even schemed against I. Are you going to force I to make a blood oath after killing Jiyu?" "Maybe." Bai Fei didn't deny it, nor did he confirm it. He just shrugged and casually said 3 words. Then, he smiled and said, "However, fellow Taoist is in the formation right now, so I'll ask you something." Xiaohua could squash Bai Fei to death as easily as squashing a fly. Unfortunately, Xiaohua really didn't want to attack a human cultivator right now, especially Bai Fei, who had painstakingly cultivated from a little qi refining cultivator to a nascent soul cultivator. He clearly knew how hard it was for the cultivators of Dawn Rain Continent to cultivate, and he was reluctant to kill this human cultivator who had a very bright future. Therefore, Xiaohua shrugged his shoulders and said with a smile, "I'm not your enemy. As for whether you'll let me go or not, that's up to you. Make your own choice." Oh, facing Xiaohua's calmness, Bai Fei's heart, which had just felt satisfied and stable because of his schemes, floated again. He looked Xiaohua up and down and suddenly remembered Xiao Yu's reminder. Bai Fei naturally wouldn't elevate Xiaohua to the highest level of the human race. He was only worried that Xiaohua had some special secret technique. With this thought, Bai Fei's expression immediately changed. He opened his mouth. Ooh! The wind rose again, and the thousands of sword lights rapidly condensed, finally turning into several green flying swords that fell into Bai Fei's mouth. "Hey, fellow Taoist, don't be afraid," Bai Fei said with a smile. "I'm just testing fellow Taoist. That Jiyu's appearance is really too strange and coincidental. I'm afraid fellow Taoist sent him a message." Xiao Hua was naturally an expert at acting. He didn't mind feigning civility with Bai Fei. In an instant, a wronged expression appeared on his face and he said, "Fellow Taoist Bai, along the way, all the forks in the road were chosen by fellow Taoist. I didn't even release my divine sense. How could I send a message? What's more, just now Jiyu's intentions were already revealed. I can't possibly send him a message because of this, right? Aha, it's all because I was too suspicious. Fellow Taoist, please forgive me." As Bai Fei spoke, he raised his hand and took Jiyu's storage ring. Without even looking at it, he put it away. Clearly, he didn't feel at ease with Jiyu. It's fine, it's fine. What could Xiao Hua say? He could only wave his hand and say, "We're not familiar with each other. It's only right for us to keep our distance. And since that's the case, we'd better hurry inside." Bai Fei said with a smile, "Since Jiyu doesn't want me to go to the Lost Land, then I must go and take a look. Fellow Taoist Bai, please." Xiao Hua nodded and raised his hand. "Fellow Taoist, please go ahead." Bai Fei said, "I still have to tidy up the sword formation." Xiao Hua knew that Bai Fei wanted to take away the gold-devouring beetles in the stone wall, so he didn't refuse anymore. He turned around and flew out of the space. Looking at Xiao Hua's back, Bai Fei couldn't help but curse in his heart. Damn it, this Taoist master Xiao, what kind of demon race secret technique does he know? Why does it seem like he's not afraid of me at all? Xiao Yu, did you see anything just now? Master. Xiao Yu's voice sounded, "I didn't feel anything. I'm afraid this so-called Taoist master Xiao is just bluffing, master." Impossible. Bai Fei firmly believed in his feeling. If he didn't have any confidence, how could he be so calm? Anyone who faces an unsolvable crisis will inevitably be nervous. "I'm from the demon race." Xiao Yu said helplessly, "Didn't Master always say that humans are the spirit of all living things? I don't understand what you humans are thinking. Truly useless things." Bai Fei felt vexed for no reason. He cursed in a low voice and used a secret technique to take the gold-devouring beetles into the stone wall into the purple gourd. Only then did he slowly fly out of the cave. Xiao Hua was the same as last time. He was still guarding the entrance of the cave harmlessly. Seeing Bai Fei come out, he smiled and asked, "Fellow Taoist Bai, can we go now?" Bai Fei was the same as last time. He looked at Xiao Hua with satisfaction and said, "Let's go. We've wasted a lot of time. We should speed up." It was as if nothing had happened. Very strange. This time Jiyu naturally didn't appear again. Xiao Hua and Bai Fei arrived at the space of the third four-way path. However, what Bai Fei didn't expect was that two of the gold-devouring beetles flew back, indicating that these two paths were dead ends. The gold-devouring beetles in the other two paths only flew back a little, indicating that these two paths were alive. Bai Fei was a little hesitant. Looking at the two paths, he didn't know which to choose. Xiao Hua didn't hesitate and said, "Since there are two paths, it means that there might be wind underworld wheels in both paths. If the two of us want to pass the selection, we need two wind underworld wheels. Why don't we split up and search here? What do you think?" "All right." Bai Fei nodded. He raised his hand and pointed at one of the paths and said, "I'll go this one. Fellow Taoist, you can go the other one." We'll do as you say." Xiao Hua agreed with Bai Fei's choice. Just as he was about to move, Bai Fei hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist, don't be anxious. Let's talk about it after I take back the gold-devouring beetles." "Hehe, I forgot about that." Xiao Hua woke up and replied, "Fellow Taoist, quickly take them back." After a meal, the gold-devouring beetles flew out of the path. Bai Fei raised his hand and said, "Fellow Taoist, please." "Haha, I'll have to trouble you, fellow Taoist Bai." Xiao Hua cupped his hands and said, "Fellow Taoist Bai has been putting in effort all this time. I have benefited a lot from fellow Taoist. From now on I will have to work hard myself. I hope fellow Taoist can smoothly find the wind underworld wheel." Bai Fei said with concern. He also flew into one of the paths. When Xiao Hua saw that Bai Fei had left, he also rushed into the fork. However, he only flew for a moment before he coldly snorted and said, "This Bai Fei really makes this Xiao speechless. Why must he release a gold-devouring bug to follow this Xiao? Do you think you can discover my secret just by relying on this thing?" Then, Xiaohua pretended not to see the gold-devouring beetle sticking to the stone wall behind him and casually flew around the maze. Xiaohua had no sense of direction. After a few times, how could he still know where he was? As he flew, he didn't know if the gold-devouring beetle was moved or if it got lost. He couldn't find a trace of it left or right. Forget it, I'll use my divine ability. And see where the wind underworld wheel is? Xiaohua casually flew for the time it took for an incense stick to burn. Looking at the messy path, he said self-deprecatingly, "With my flying skills, I'm afraid I won't be able to find the wind underworld wheel in my lifetime." As he spoke, Xiaohua formed a seal with his hands and urged his magic power. Suddenly, woo! Above his head, a ghastly wailing sound could be heard. A heavenly wind that was several times more powerful than before descended. Then, the space within several thousand feet became extremely distorted. Hundreds of spatial cracks fell down, even denser than the violent storm. They swept through the stone walls, swept through the space, and rushed into the surroundings of the bewildering formation. Xiaohua frowned. He originally wanted to dodge, but at this moment, within the distorted space, several terrifying forces mixed with an aura that Xiaohua was both familiar and unfamiliar with gushed out. This is dragon aura? How can there be such a violent realm storm? And an aura that almost surpasses the 9th grade of essence power? Xiaohua's face was filled with shock. He almost didn't dare to believe his own senses. He growled, could it be that the Alliance Masters of the Heaven Alliance also came to snatch the wind underworld wheel? This daddy's senses aren't wrong, right? When did the Dawn Rain continent become so popular? As he spoke, Xiaohua didn't dare to hesitate. His consciousness entered the space and pulled out a few spirit-severing stage disciples. He instructed, you all, help this old man find the wind underworld wheel in the maze. Although Xiaohua's appearance had changed, these disciples were extremely familiar with Xiaohua's orders. The only ones who could pull them here from the Shanhua continent were Xiaohua and a few other sect masters. Therefore, they didn't hesitate at all and bowed in agreement. Yes, this disciple obeys. Xiaohua raised his hand and pointed. Several light spots fell between their eyebrows. Those people's bodies shook violently, and they hurriedly said, "This disciple thanks Old Master for the generous gift. And go quickly." Xiaohua passed down the information about the wind underworld wheel and the secret technique to reward these disciples to his disciples. After instructing them, he waved his hands again. A spatial crack appeared. Xiaohua flashed into it and hurriedly left. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, gift, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 4974. The spirit-severing stage disciples lowered their heads and pondered for a moment. Then they nodded at each other and went to different places. This was a place that seemed to have no heaven and earth. Within thousands of miles or even tens of thousands of miles, there were only hurricanes and space fragments. These hurricanes seemed to have gone crazy. They either crashed down from the 9th heaven, suddenly rushed up from the 9th hell, or rampaged in the vicinity. There was no pattern at all. What was even more strange was that these hurricanes were like a chaotic battle team. At first, they cooperated and swept across thousands of miles. However, in a blink of an eye, these hurricanes became enemies. They desperately collided with each other, and chaotic forces poured out in all directions. When the hurricanes swept across the space, they emitted an inexplicable light. The light was either a straight line or broken into pieces. Most of the time it was broken into arcs. Within the arcs were the space fragments. At this moment, the space fragments were like ice cubes in the torrential turbulence in winter. They were either spinning or drifting, and they were colliding with each other in a disorderly manner. The collision of the space fragments was different from the hurricanes. The annihilation of space created a vast space force. This space force was more destructive than the hurricanes. Occasionally, it would tear everything within a few miles or dozens of miles apart. Occasionally, there would be explosive sounds. Waves and waves that could tear apart mountains and rivers rushed out of the space and fell into the distant sky. Then, an endless amount of hurricanes and spatial fragments were born in this wave of air. Is this the heavenly wind forbidden land? At the edge of the space, A blast of air that could tear a mountain apart rushed past. Two human figures strangely appeared high up in the sky. Although the blast of air left behind a huge force, when this huge force swept past the two human figures, it was only able to twist and distort the human figures. A weak voice faintly came from the swaying figure. That's right. This is the Tianfeng Forbidden Area, one of the 6 forbidden areas of the Heavenly Alliance. Then another slightly older voice sounded. I'm afraid you've heard of this place for a long time, but you've never been here, right? Senior, I grew up in the Tao Alliance. Even when I went out to train, I rarely came to the Heaven Alliance to avoid arousing suspicion. That's why. It's impossible for me to have been to the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Zone. The other voice was filled with respect and grew louder and louder. Gradually, the two swaying figures solidified, and a figure that was 1,000 feet tall was revealed. The source of the respectful voice was a young cultivator in black clothes. This cultivator's face was like the full moon, and his eyebrows were like distant mountains. A faint halo flashed in his slightly purple eyes. Next to the cultivator was an old man. This old man appeared to be even more muscular than the young man. The surface of his faint golden body was engraved with thousands of tiny runes. As the light flickered, the runes gave rise to strange phenomena. Faint projections of dragons, tigers, elephants, and WIRMS appeared. Even the imperceptible roars of beasts could be heard from these projections. The old man's eyebrows were as sharp as knives, and his eyes were as sharp as rocks. Wherever his gaze swept past, the winds would be pierced through. You've been to the 4 forbidden areas of the Tao Alliance, right? The old man's voice was indifferent, but in the young man's ears, it was like metal clashing with stone. Every single word was like the sound of a battle. The young man didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly bowed and replied, Yes, Senior. I've been to the 4 forbidden areas of the Tao Alliance, the Xiangong Forbidden Area, the Flood of Tao Forbidden Area, the Fulin Forbidden Area, and the Emoqing Forbidden Area. I went to the Xiangong Forbidden Area when I broke through a bottleneck at the mid-body integration stage, the Flood of Tao Forbidden Area when I broke through to the Grand Ascension stage, and the Fulin Forbidden Area when I was stuck at a bottleneck at the mid-body integration stage. As for the Emoqing Forbidden Area, the young man's voice was as gentle as water, and it was very pleasant to the ears. As the saying went, kindness is like water. His voice didn't dissipate in the winds, and it could still be heard clearly. However, before the young man could finish, the old man laughed and said, Haha, let me guess. You must have gone to the Emoqing Forbidden Area to train because you wanted to break through to the late body integration stage, right? The young man smiled and nodded. Senior is right. I'm strong enough, but I can't see the door of heavenly Tao if I don't pass the tribulation. Therefore, Reverend Ji Yen suggested that I go to the Emoqing Forbidden Area to train. He said that there are profound truths of heaven and earth there, and it's very useful for comprehending the door of heavenly Tao. The old man sighed. Shiyu, what do you think you've gained from the Emoqing Forbidden Area? The young man named Shiyu was naturally Reverend Shiyu, the defector disciple of the Chongxi sect. He was also one of Reverend Ji Yan's favorite disciples. No one would have thought that he would actually appear here. Needless to say, the old man beside Reverend Shiyu was definitely a famous figure in the Heaven Alliance. Reverend Shiyu's face was filled with shame. He said in a low voice, Junior's aptitude is limited. In the end, I didn't gain anything from the Emoqing Forbidden Area. After I came out of the Emoqing Forbidden Area, I received Senior's message. Reverend Ji Yen is considered one of the top figures in the Tao Alliance. How could he be so muddle-headed on this matter? The old man's face was filled with disdain. He curled his lips and said, This old man hasn't been to the Tao Alliance's 4 great forbidden areas, but I've been to the Emoqing Forbidden Area and the Flood Tao Forbidden Area. Although the topography and scenery of the two places are different, in reality, the laws of heaven and earth in the two places are very similar to the 6 great forbidden areas of our Heaven Alliance. If you go to one place, you don't have to go to the other. Moreover, the laws of heaven and earth in the 4 great forbidden areas are the condensation of the laws of heaven and earth in my Yilan continent. You're only at the late body integration stage, but you've gone to these forbidden areas to comprehend them one after another. The time interval is so short. Can you comprehend them? There's a saying in the secular world. You can't become fat if you eat in one go. Reverend Ji Yan really dotes on the disciples of the Chongxi sect. Such a fortuitous opportunity. Only he, as the Vice Alliance leader of the Tao Alliance, could give it to you. Even the sect master of the Chongxi sect wouldn't dare to be so generous. Yes, this junior understands. Reverend Shiyu replied respectfully, but his tone was somewhat gloomy. This is all Reverend Ji Yan's love. Although this junior understands clearly. I don't dare to disobey. Hehe, do you still regret it now? The old man wasn't surprised. He looked at Reverend Shiyu and asked. At this moment, the power of the realm of heaven and earth surged over like a tsunami. The space within 100 li around the old man and Reverend Shiyu was annihilated by this frenzied tide. However, when this frenzied tide engulfed the old man's body shone with golden light. That golden light was like a tough pillar that propped up the space several hundred zhang around him. Moreover, within the golden light, the sound of dragons and elephants could be heard. Although the power of the realm of heaven was powerful, it actually couldn't tear apart the old man's protective golden light. Reverend Shiyu looked around in astonishment. While admiring the old man's shocking methods, he lowered his eyebrows and said, Senior, please know that this junior said that he didn't regret it, but that was a lie. After all, this junior grew up in the Chongxi sect, and Reverend Ji Yan treated this junior like a nephew. If kinship is useful, what's the point of having a sect? If a sect is useful, what's the point of having the heavenly Tao? The old man mercilessly interrupted Reverend Shiyu and said, the Tao Alliance, which cultivates nascent souls, has reached the end of their road. Due to the change in the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, their nascent souls condensed from the spiritual qi of heaven and earth are the first victims. Although the cultivators of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance are troubled by the loss of their lifespans, it's obvious that the lifespans of all the cultivators of the Heaven Alliance are decreasing much more slowly than the cultivators of the Tao Alliance. You've only just reached the late stage of the Mahayana realm, and haven't reached the tribulation stage yet. It's still not too late to withdraw from the Tao Alliance. If you wait until you peek into the door of the heavenly Tao and want to cultivate the 8-9 golden body, it'll be too late. Yes, this junior understands. Reverend Shiyu said with a smile, the path to immortality has always been lonely. Cultivators never have companions. Since you want immortality, you must know how to give up. This is what Senior Mingguang told this junior when we first met, and this junior engraved it in my heart. That's right. Mingguang's cultivation isn't high, but he has contributed greatly to the Heaven Alliance. The old man nodded. It's a pity that the Tao Alliance discovered his flaw. In order to keep the seeds of the Heaven Alliance, he gave up his life and the chance to enter the cycle of reincarnation. While they were talking, a 5-colored brilliance appeared high up in the sky. It was like a star in the dark night. As soon as this star appeared, it immediately turned into a stream of light and flew through the hurricane and spatial fragments. In less than the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, a 5-colored light that was several hundred feet in size landed in a corner of the space. This 5-colored light was like a stream of light, and an old man with an ancient appearance appeared. This old man was wearing a 5-colored robe. His eye sockets were deep, and his eyes were withered. The old man's gaze passed through the shattered laws and landed on the young man and the purple-eyed old man. He said, Yangxia, is this the disciple that you, Mei Xianling, let into the Chongxi sect? That's right. The purple-eyed old man named Yangxia nodded and said to Reverend Shiyu, Shiyu, this is the Peacock Manor's old man Peacock, Kong Chong. I'm sure you know Senior Kong Chong. Junior Shiyu greets Senior Kong. Reverend Shiyu hurriedly bowed and said, although Junior has always been in the Tao Alliance, Senior's name is really like thunder. No matter where you are in the Yilin continent, your name is like thunder. It's just that Junior has long heard of Senior's name, but has never seen Senior in person. Today, Junior's wish has finally been fulfilled. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, donate it, and thank you for all forms of support. A word for nameless fellow Taoist. In your own life, others only have suggestions. The decision is in your hands. Illness is not scary. What is scary is the state of mind. There is only so much happiness in the world. For yourself, for the people who care about you, you have to enjoy more happiness. Only when you are happy will they be happy. You have to believe that tomorrow is always beautiful. Chapter 4975. Forget it. Kongchang sneered. I'm not as famous as Yang Xia in the Heavenly Alliance. You're so used to being in the Taoist Alliance that you've even learned Ji Yan's hypocrisy. Taoist Master Shiyu was embarrassed and did not know how to respond. Yang Xia laughed. Haha, Shiyu, don't listen to this old peacock's nonsense. He's jealous of me. Most of the disciples sent by the Peacock Mountain Manor to the Taoist Alliance have been discovered. Now all of his previous plans have failed. He's the one who got nothing. Oh, not to mention that you've emptied the Chongxi sect. All the secret techniques and cultivation methods will belong to me. Is it? Taoist Master Shiyu snorted and said disdainfully, if it was before, I might have been jealous. But now that Zhang Xiaohua's immortal cultivation method has been announced, do you think I'll still care about the trashy cultivation method of the Chongxi sect? Kongchang. Yang Xia seemed to be a little angry and growled. Isn't it just Zhang Xiaohua's cultivation method? It was created by Zhang Xiaohua. What does it have to do with you? Didn't Zhang Xiaohua use the Peacock Mountain Manor to give the cultivation method to the Heavenly Alliance? Also, don't forget that other than the Peacock Mountain Manor, the Guangqing Immortal Alliance's Shunming sect also gave a cultivation method jade slip. Well, if you're so capable, why don't you fix the last 3 realms of the primordial spirit cultivation method? What's wrong? Taoist Master Shiyu laughed when he saw Yang Xia angry. Yang Xia, are you angry? Oh, that's not right. You're not angry, you're jealous. I've gotten the primordial spirit cultivation method modified by Zhang Xiaohua. It's like adding wings to a tiger. But what about Yang Xia? I've never heard of Zhang Xiaohua modifying the cultivation method of the 9 transformation golden pill, let alone the 8-9 arcane art. Roar. Just as Taoist Master Shiyu was awkwardly listening to the 2 seniors bicker and Yang Xia was about to retort, a dragon's roar resounded from the edge of space in the distance. Soon after, a model dragon that was thousands of feet long broke through the air. Its vast aura and unparalleled magic power tore apart the shattered space. Whether it was Taoist Master Shiyu, Yang Xia, or Kongchang, seeing Minister Long's boldness, they didn't dare to slight him. They hurriedly stopped smiling and bowed. Greetings, Lord Alliance Master. The dragon image was originally very far away, but when the 3 cultivators bowed, the dragon image had already crossed the void and landed on the side of the space. When the light and shadow solidified, the dragon image shrank, and a burly middle-aged man stood proudly in the hurricane. The middle-aged man's appearance was a little blurry, and the light and shadow couldn't be seen clearly. However, the 2 9-colored dragon horns on the middle-aged man's forehead could be seen clearly. Everyone, you are too courteous. The middle-aged man raised his hand, and a light that looked like a dragon's claw rushed out. Unfortunately, it was already torn apart in midair by the laws of heaven and earth. The middle-aged man helplessly said, "Please rise." When Yang Xia and Kongchang stood up, the middle-aged man smiled and said to Taoist Master Shiyu, "You must be Taoist Master Shiyu of the Chongxi sect, right? This junior is indeed Shiyu." Taoist Master Shiyu bowed again and said, "Greetings, Lord Dragon God. You all didn't forget your original intentions and returned to the Heaven Alliance. I am relieved." Dragon God smiled and said, "With you as an example, there will definitely be more seeds of the Heaven Alliance returning from the Tao Alliance. Your contribution is not small." "I don't dare. This is what this junior should do." Although Taoist Master Shiyu was a famous late-stage Mahayana cultivator of the Tao Alliance, he didn't even dare to breathe loudly in front of these supreme cultivators of the Heaven Alliance. It wasn't that he hadn't seen any supreme cultivators before. Wasn't Taoist Master Ji Yan one of them? However, the pressure that Dragon God gave off was too strong. Although they were in the heavenly wind forbidden zone, the surging power of heaven and earth couldn't stop this pressure. It's good that you know how to restrain yourself." Dragon God smiled and said, "Although Taoist Master Ji Yan's strength is ordinary, he is really good at teaching disciples." After saying that, Dragon God looked at Elder Peacock and said, "Kongchang, how's the modification of the last 3 realms of the primordial spirit cultivation method?" Kongchang was arrogant when he was fighting with Yang Xia just now. Now that he heard Dragon God's question, he was like a defeated rooster. He lowered his head and said, "Lord Alliance Leader, as you know, this old man tried to modify it a little. However, when I asked my disciples to try it, They found that it was very different from what Daoist Zhang had modified previously. "Sai, this Daoist Zhang is really amazing," Dragon God sighed and said. After he appeared in Tong Lake City, there was no news about him. Even if my disciples of the Heaven Alliance searched 100,000 miles, they couldn't find him. Yang Xia smiled and said, "Daoist Zhang is an expert. If he doesn't want others to know, how can ordinary disciples find him? Where's the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit?" Dragon God seemed to have thought of something when he heard that. He looked around and asked, "Why isn't she here yet?" When she took away the primordial spirit cultivation method that day, she promised me that she would be able to find Daoist Zhang Xiaohua's trace. Kong Chong curled his lips and said, "Humph, with her psychic technique, she might be able to find some combination stage or void refinement stage cultivators, but I'm afraid she won't be able to find Daoist Zhang. She's probably too ashamed to come." As soon as Kong Chong finished speaking, a strange wind blew from the bottom of the space. Strings of spiritual light gushed out like bubbles. These spiritual light wavered under the force of the hurricane and the wind. However, all the spiritual light looked like an ethereal human figure from afar. When the spiritual light in the center of the human figure shone brightly like stars, all the spiritual light instantly condensed into an ethereal female figure. A voice that sounded like the sound of nature rang out. "Who's talking bad about others behind their backs?" Sweat. Kong Chong's lips curled into a smile. "Who's talking about you today? I was just talking about the beauty of the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit, and you're here. You're too easy to talk about." The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's body was surrounded by spiritual light, and her appearance was also covered by spiritual light. However, her spiritual body was thousands of feet tall, and anyone could tell that she was a peerless beauty. When the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit heard Kong Chong's flattery, she coldly snorted and said, "Since you've admitted defeat, I won't lower myself to your level. Be careful today, you might have a bloody disaster." "No way." Kong Chong was shocked and shouted, "We came together. Why would I have a bloody disaster but you don't?" "Because you're talking bad about others behind their backs." The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit pursed her lips and smiled, then bowed to Dragon God and said, "Greetings, Alliance Leader. You're too courteous. Holy Mother of Earth Spirit, I wonder how your spirit communication technique reacted?" Dragon God was still more concerned about Xiaohua's whereabouts and hurriedly asked. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit shook her head and said, "Fellow Zhang has the ability of a celestial being. Everything about him has been reversed, and I can't find out." "Ai, what a pity." Dragon God was a little disappointed and sighed. However, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit changed the topic. "I managed to get a verse. Hurry up and say it." Not to mention Long Shenxi, even the rest of the people became spirited and urged. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's bright eyes turned, and said with a smile, "I've searched for him thousands of times, but when I look back, that person is in the waning light." "Oh, what do you mean?" Yang Xia was a little confused. Could it be that we don't have to search anymore? He will naturally appear? That's called wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit rebuked. "It's scary to be uneducated." "Haha, you've been scolded by the Holy Mother, right?" Kong Chong laughed and said, "In the future, before we meet the Holy Mother, we have to read some books first." "Haha, you're right. Everyone laughed as if the heavenly wind forbidden land, which was regarded as a place of death by ordinary cultivators, was a place where they could chat, laugh, and drink. "We still have to search," the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit explained. From the verse, fellow Zhang should be in the Heaven Alliance. However, his transformation technique is so powerful that we can't recognize him. Even his previous appearance and title weren't real. Perhaps he will only appear if he is touched by our actions? It's fine as long as he's in the Heaven Alliance. Dragon God nodded. I've already ordered the Heaven Alliance disciples to guard the Heaven Sacrificial Abyss. Previously, fellow Zhang gave the Tao Alliance the method of selecting spiritual roots and cultivating spiritual roots. So the Tao Alliance sealed the abyss to prevent these cultivation methods and secret techniques from spreading to the Heaven Alliance. Now that the Heaven Alliance has the complete nascent soul cultivation method, we can't let the Tao Alliance benefit from it. Ahem. Kong Chong coughed and said, Alliance Master Fellow Zhang said that he wants us to give the nascent soul cultivation method to the Tao Alliance. What are you doing? You've clearly disobeyed Fellow Zhang's orders, so how can you move him? Actually, Yang Xia said, that day in Tong Lake City, there were many spies of the Tao Alliance. They have already obtained the complete cultivation method, but they haven't found a suitable way to send it to the Tao Alliance yet. The Heaven Sacrificial Abyss can block Mahayana cultivators, but what about Tribulation Transcendence cultivators? If Jiyan Jinren and Old Man Gu Qiong force their way in, our arrangements will be in vain. Well, when this matter is settled, I'll ask the Heaven Alliance disciples to lower their guard. Dragon God thought for a moment and said, I hate Jiyan Jinren's stinginess. He treated the Heaven Alliance that way, so I gave them a small warning. Heaven and Earth are heartless, treating all things as straw dogs. Mother Earth Spirit sighed and said, since we're all straw dogs, it's better for us to tolerate each other. At this point, Mother Earth Spirit looked around and said curiously, that's not right. Why am I not the last one to arrive today? Where's Golden Saint Spiritual Master? He's the most important person in this trip. Why isn't he here yet? What? Golden Saint Spiritual Master? Yang Xia was stunned and said curiously, didn't you say that there will only be 4 of us? Why did you drag Jin Sheng into this? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, or give it as a reward. Chapter 4976. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit was also surprised. She looked at Long Shenxi and then at Yang Xia. Reverend Jin Sheng is going to refine the spiritual weapon. How could he not come? This is very important. Long Shenxi ignored Yang Xia's surprise and the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's bewilderment. He waved his hand and said, the spiritual weapon refined by Reverend Jin Sheng is related to how to suppress the power of this realm. If he came earlier, I would be worried. Anyway, we agreed to meet in this period of time. Let's wait a few more days. Yang Xia did not ask any more questions. Instead, he frowned and said, Alliance Master, the last time you came to explore the forbidden area, I happened to have something to do and could not come. After that, I got the incantation to activate the spiritual weapon. So I don't understand. How did you find out about this place? Fellow Taoists, what have you discovered? Don't blame me, Yang Xia. Long Shenxi said with a smile, this matter is related to our lifespans, so it's a secret that cannot be leaked. That's why I've given them the order of the Alliance Master. Everything that happened here is not to be written on jade slips. They can only talk about it face to face. Yang Xia smiled, since there are benefits, I will not blame them. But since we are here, can you solve my doubts? Damn it, Yang Xia, you are so nosy. Kong Chong said unhappily, why do you care what is here? Since you have the incantation to activate the spiritual weapon, wait a moment. When Reverend Jin Sheng comes, you and I will activate the spiritual weapon together. Won't the mystery be revealed? Now, even if I have a golden lotus in my mouth, I can't tell the truth. Hee, I like to hear you talk. Yang Xia smiled and said with a I have you look. Gij. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit smiled, Brother Kong. You should say it again. I also want to hear it. Tisk. Kong Chong curled his lips and said, don't you want to know the cultivation secrets of my peacock manor? I might as well tell you. Even if I tell you, you don't have the bloodline of the 5-colored peacock. You can't imitate it. Then tell me. Yang Xia squinted his eyes and smiled like an old fox. Kong Chong glared at Yang Xia and said, my peacock manners. Array formation has been used for many years. Ahem, fellow Taoist Kong. Just as Kong Chong opened his mouth, Yang Xia immediately coughed and said, you're being dishonest, right? The Alliance had asked you to speak, so why are you being so secretive? What kind of formation does your peacock manor have? I just don't want to say the name of this array. Kong Chong stiffened his neck and said, what's wrong? Taoist Master Shiyu was a little dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the 2 supreme cultivators of the Heaven Alliance would actually spout nonsense in this heavenly wind forbidden zone. What made him even more puzzled was that Long Shenxi actually didn't stop them. Instead, he just looked on with a smile. He knew very well that if they were in the Tao Alliance, Taoist Ji Yan would have scolded him. Alright, it's up to you whether you want to say it or not. Yang Xia shrugged and said casually, "It's up to you whether you want to listen or not." Kong Chong retorted sarcastically. However, he still continued, "That array formation has been used for many years. Some of the materials used to set up the array formation have gradually lost their effectiveness. I had no choice but to send disciples to various places in the Heaven Alliance to search for it. However, this material is rare even in the Yilin continent. Therefore, the disciples searched for thousands of years without any results." "My goodness, what material is it? Why is it so rare?" Yang Xia shouted again. Unfortunately, Kong Chong didn't pay attention to him this time and continued, "Later on, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth changed. This array formation became even more important to my peacock manor. I had no choice but to personally search for it. My Heaven Alliance's 6 great forbidden zones: Heavenly Wind Forbidden Zone, Sky Splitting Forbidden Zone, Sky Dome Forbidden Zone, Hidden Imprisonment Forbidden Zone, and Soul Shredding Forbidden Zone. I didn't miss a single one of them. I've seen all of them. Why did you specifically look for the 6 great forbidden zones?" Yang Xia asked curiously. Hearing that Yang Xia wasn't being sarcastic, Kong Chong thought for a moment and explained, "I didn't specifically look for the 6 great forbidden zones. I just happened to pass by here and couldn't help but come and take a look. Fellow Yang, you must know that the 6 great forbidden zones aren't always ravaged by the heavenly wind and realm force. Many times outside of the outer realm will appear. Therefore, I thought that the rare materials might appear in these forbidden zones." "In the end, you were like a blind cat running into a dead mouse?" Yang Xia asked. "Yes, I was just lucky. What about it?" Kong Chong smiled and said, "That was when the spiritual chi of heaven and earth had just changed. I flew past the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Zone. At that time, the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Zone's Heavenly Wind Forbidden Zone had already calmed down and was far less powerful than it is now. I came over to take a look. However, I didn't find anything after searching for dozens of days. Just as I was about to leave, the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Zone suddenly produced realm force. In the broken space law, an aura that I had never encountered before gushed out from the depths of the Forbidden Zone and instantly enveloped the Forbidden Zone. This aura was 10,000 times purer than what I was looking for. I was ecstatic and was about to release the 5-colored divine light. However, with the power of heaven and earth pouring out in torrents, how could this old man withstand it? My 5-colored divine light could only collect the aura for about 100 miles. When I tried to find it again, it was gone. I didn't know what that aura was, and my 5-colored divine light couldn't keep it for a long time. Therefore, I hurriedly refined it." Kong Chong said and asked again, "Guess what I found after refining that aura?" "Damn it, your Kong family's 5-colored divine light is very mysterious. It can sweep away anything of the 5 elements. Who knew that after you refined that aura?" Yang Xia said and suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "Did you find that your lifespan had changed?" "Yes, that's right." Kong Chong didn't keep them in suspense and explained, "When I found out the secret of my lifespan and used the 5-colored divine light here, I was very worried. However, after I refined that aura, I found that my lifespan had not changed. Moreover, my lifespan had been replenished. Damn it, what the hell is this thing?" Yang Xia's heart itched when he heard this. "I know," Kong Chong said with a smile, "with my strength and the power of the Peacock Manor, I'm afraid that I couldn't imprison the heavenly wind in the forbidden land of Tianfeng and uncover the secret of the forbidden land of Tianfeng. Therefore, I went to find the alliance leader." "Well," Long Shenxi continued Kong Chong's words, "when I received your message, I didn't dare to neglect it. I asked Immortal Jin Shang to come here with me. However, at that time, the heavenly wind was blowing in the forbidden land of Tianfeng. It was similar to today, so we couldn't explore it. Therefore, I invited the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit, who happened to be in the Heavenly Alliance, and Immortal Jin Shang to suppress the heavenly wind and find out the truth. Unfortunately, we still failed. We didn't find the thing that Immortal Jin Shang was talking about. Alliance leader, actually that wasn't a failure," Holy Mother of Earth Spirit said with a smile. "We just wanted to see what was going on here. Fellow cultivators, what is this place?" Yang Xia didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Holy Mother of Earth Spirit said with a smile, "That time you weren't here. Alliance leader and Immortal Jin Shang suppressed the heavenly wind and let Immortal Jin Shang and I explore the aura. Although we didn't find the source of the aura, there was still a trace of it. Immortal Jin Shang still refined that trace of aura. And I used the art of psychic communication to find out that the source of the aura was in the forbidden land of Tianfeng. It was in the realm of the Yilan continent, not outside the realm. Therefore, Taoist Master Jin Shang proposed that he refine a spirit artifact that we can use together to temporarily suppress or seal the heavenly wind forbidden area, and find the spirit artifact that emitted the aura. Kong Chang finally said, "Fellow Taoist Yang, do you understand now?" "I understand now," Yang Xia said with a bitter smile, "but I still don't understand. What is that spiritual item?" "It doesn't matter if you don't understand." Holy Mother of Earth Spirit looked at immortal Shi Yu and said, "What I want to know is, this matter has been clearly stated in the message that it needs to be kept a secret. Why did you bring your disciple here?" "Oh, Shi Yu just returned to the Heavenly Alliance and didn't have time to visit Alliance Leader. Not to mention that he hasn't seen the seniors of the Heavenly Alliance." Yang Xia said with a smile, "I was thinking of taking this opportunity to bring him here to meet all of you. In the future, all of you will need to take care of him. Also, I really didn't expect this matter to be so urgent. You really know how to curry favor." Holy Mother of Earth Spirit said with disdain, "I can't help it. Who asked me to have such a beloved disciple?" Yang Xia said proudly, "Even in the Taoist Alliance, Shi Yu is one of Immortal Ji Yan's favorite disciples." Woo-woo. Just as everyone was talking and laughing, another sobbing sound came from another place. Within the violent space fragment, a dark golden color surged out like a flood. That dark golden color was really all-pervasive. As long as there was a gap in the hurricane, the edge of the space fragment would be filled with this dark golden color in a moment. When the dark golden color rushed not far from everyone, clusters of scattered light mixed with pitch-black fog rushed out of the dark golden color and condensed into a cloaked human figure in the wild wind. This human figure was originally an illusion. Under the impact of the realm force, it was riddled with holes. However, as the cracks appeared, black and white netherworld items began to spread out. In just a few breaths, ripples like blood waves appeared outside the cloak of the human figure, and waves of netherworld aura surged out and blocked the realm force. The dark golden light condensed inside the cloak, and a human figure that was hundreds of meters tall stood steadily in the hurricane with flickering flames. "Greetings, everyone." When the human figure appeared, a slightly hoarse voice came from the cloak. "I'm late. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it and reward it. Thank you for all of your support." Chapter 4977. Is this Reverend Jin Shang? Why haven't I heard of him before? Reverend Shi Yu had obviously never seen Reverend Jin Shang before. Looking at the cloaked figure, he couldn't help but think to himself, why is there such an aura of death around him? Even the heavenly winds of the forbidden grounds withered when they touched his cloak. What kind of cultivation technique is this Reverend Jin Shang cultivating? It's too strange. The Heaven Alliance is indeed a place where experts come from. It doesn't matter if it's sooner or later. Seeing Reverend Jin Shang appear, Long Shenxi's heart calmed down. He waved his hand and said, "It's good that you can come." "That's right." Holy Mother of Earth Spirit also laughed. "We are all idle. Only fellow Taoist Jin Shang is fully focused on refining. As long as fellow Taoists can come, we are all happy. How would we dare to complain?" If it was Yang Xia, Kong Chang would have already asked. But Reverend Jin Shang was different. Kong Chang didn't dare to provoke him. He subconsciously turned to look at Long Shenxi. Long Shenxi smiled. "Since fellow Taoist Jin Shang is here, I presume that the spirit artifact has already been refined?" "That's right." Reverend Jin Shang replied indifferently. "I had estimated that this spirit artifact would need to be refined for 49 years before it could be completed. But the change in the heaven and earth spirit chi actually brought it forward by 10 years. I had no idea and specially brought this spirit artifact to the netherworld for the rest of my life. I soaked it in the netherworld's energy and spent close to 100 years. If this spirit artifact is still unable to suppress the energy of the realm and force that thing out, then I feel that there is nothing else in the Yilan continent that can fulfill your wishes." Man proposes, God disposes. Yang Xia laughed. This is all I can do. Whether it can succeed or not, it will still depend on the will of the heavens. Actually, Reverend Jin Sheng hesitated for a moment and asked Kong Chong, I have some questions. I hope fellow Taoist Peacock can answer them. Oh, what does Reverend Jin Sheng not understand? Reverend Jin Sheng, please speak. Kong Chong was taken aback and hurriedly replied. It seemed that he was rather afraid of Reverend Jin Sheng. Reverend Jin Sheng asked, I would like to ask, after we have worked for hundreds of years, how much of our lifespan can we obtain this item? Exactly. Upon hearing this, Yang Xia also exclaimed, fellow Taoist Jin Sheng, just refining this spirit tool will consume an unimaginable amount of your lifespan. Will fellow Taoist Kong be able to make up for it? Don't end up losing more than you gain. Kong Chong smiled wryly, then spread his hands and said, fellow Taoist Jin Sheng, it's hard for me to answer your question. First of all, I don't know where this aura comes from, and I don't know if it can really make up for my lifespan. Secondly, this thing appeared in the forbidden area, and it seems to be an object from the outside world. Whether we can subdue it is unknown. Therefore, I can't give you a definite answer to your question. However, what I can tell you is that if you can subdue this item, I'll refine the aura it emits into spiritual items, so that you can replenish your lifespan. Hearing this, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit looked at the realm power below her and suddenly said, Alliance Leader, do you think there's another realm below this Tianfeng Forbidden Ground? If that's the case, can we go to other realms through the Tianfeng Forbidden Ground? Won't we be able to escape the calamity then? Long Shenxi didn't directly answer the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit, but smiled and said, I heard that Tao Alliance's Taoist Ji Yan had already ordered the Tao Alliance's disciples to search the entire Yilan continent to find the spatial passage to other realms. Moreover, I know that Taoist Ji Yan had already explored the 4 forbidden areas of the Tao Alliance after the change in the world's spiritual qi. But why did he still order his disciples to search the entire place after that? At this point, Long Shenxi suddenly looked at Taoist West Moon and said, Do you know why? West Moon. Taoist West Moon had been listening the whole time and didn't expect Long Shenxi to suddenly ask him, so he was caught off guard. However, he was also clear about this matter, so after hesitating for a moment, he hurriedly replied, Alliance Leader, this junior knows about this matter. I heard that Taoist Ji Yan said that among the 4 forbidden areas of the Tao Alliance, 3 of them have realm power and mutated worldly laws. However, he had once used a great amount of magic power to explore the depths of the forbidden area. However, the mutated worldly laws seem to be of a higher level than our Yilan continent. Even with his late-stage tribulation passing strength, he couldn't get too close. Of course, this wasn't the main reason. The main reason was that the power of the outer realm was like an inverted waterfall, endlessly pouring down. His magic power wasn't enough to support him to go through the power of the outer realm and approach the depths of the forbidden area. Did you hear that? Long Shenxi smiled and said, even with Taoist Ji Yan's strength, he couldn't reach the depths of the 4 forbidden areas, let alone approach the edges of the realms that might exist. I'm afraid it's the same for us, right? Moreover, there's the power of 2 realms at the edges of the realms, as well as different worldly laws. Yang Xia nodded and said, that's even more of a test. Unless the power of this realm disappears and a transmission bridge is constructed from here to cross the 2 realms, then it's possible to cross realms. Kong Chong said thoughtfully. But the power of crossing realms will make us feel like we're going to die. Actually, this is all speculation. Long Shenxi waved his hand and said, it's based on the fact that there's another realm below this heavenly wind forbidden area. As for whether it's the netherworld or another realm below, we still don't know. Holy Mother of Earth Spirit, speaking of this, you're the most qualified. When you asked this question, did you sense another realm or another space below? Holy Mother of Earth Spirit sighed and looked up at everyone. She said, actually, to be honest, after I came here with you last time, I came here to explore 3 more times. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked this question today. Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's words didn't surprise anyone. Long Shenxi smiled and said, and the result? The first time I used the spirit communication technique here, but the technique didn't have any effect and I was devoured by the power of the realms. Holy Mother of Earth Spirit smiled bitterly and said, so I had to return to Earth Spirit Mountain to cultivate for 100 years. The second time I didn't dare to use my spiritual power, and only used my body to sense. Although I didn't sense the spiritual object that Taoist Kong mentioned, I sensed the aura of another realm, which means, below this heavenly wind forbidden area, there should be another realm, not another space. As for the third time, I was disappointed. Although the heaven and earth spirit chi that came from the gap between realms was diluted by the heaven and earth spirit chi of Yilan continent, and was changed by the heaven and earth spirit chi of Yilan continent, but it was still violent. If I'm not wrong, it should be the legendary 10,000 demon realm. Yes, Long Shenxi nodded and said, "You're right. Under this heavenly wind forbidden area, if I'm not wrong, it should be tens of millions of years ago." Without waiting for Long Shenxi to finish, Yang Xia seemed to have thought of something and exclaimed, "Lord Alliance Leader, the tens of millions of years ago you're talking about, is it the Xian Alliance that crossed realms?" Long Shenxi looked at Yang Xia meaningfully and nodded. "That's right, Taoist Yang is right. It's the Xian Alliance that shocked Yilan continent." Senior Taoist Master Shiyu was not supposed to speak at this time, but seeing the shock on Yang Xia's face, he could not help but ask in a low voice, "Xian Alliance? Tens of millions of years ago, my Yilan continent had a Xian Alliance?" Sigh. Yang Xia sighed and raised his eyes to look at the chaotic space fragments in the sky. He said in a low voice, "Who knows how many years ago that was? Tens of millions of years, seems to be too short." Holy Mother of Earth Spirit also asked curiously, "Taoist Yang, quickly tell me, how come I didn't know that there was a Xian Alliance before Yilan continent? My Yilan continent has a Tao Alliance that cultivates the nascent soul, and a Heaven Alliance that cultivates the primordial spirit. How could there not be a Xian Alliance that cultivates the 9 transformation golden core?" Yang Xia's tone was a little complicated as he explained, "According to what I know, the Xian Alliance's strength was not inferior to the Heaven Alliance and Tao Alliance. The cultivators who cultivated the 9 transformation golden core were not less than the cultivators who cultivated the other 2 techniques. However, after the Xian Alliance crossed over, the Xian Alliance disappeared from the Yilan continent. As for the cultivators who cultivated the 9 transformation golden core, there were only a few left." Speaking till here, Yang Xia glanced at Long Shenxi and said, "Lord Alliance Master, I only know that the Xian Alliance had a huge opportunity and could go to other realms. After that, I don't have much information. As for the specific secrets, I'll have to ask Lord Alliance Master to tell me." Long Shenxi nodded and replied, "Actually, it's not really a secret. After all, tens of millions of years have passed. Of course, because it's been too long, if Taoist Kong didn't discover the spiritual item in this heavenly wind forbidden land, I definitely wouldn't have remembered that the Xian Alliance crossed over. Lord Alliance Master, quickly tell me." Holy Mother of Earth Spirit was extremely curious and urged, "What exactly is going on with the Xian Alliance crossing over? The cause of this matter is very simple." Long Shenxi said, "Back then in the Yilan continent, the Heaven Alliance, Tao Alliance, and Xian Alliance all called themselves the Orthodox Taoism. The battle between the 3 alliances was even more intense than the battle between the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance. Since it was the 3 alliances, it was naturally normal for them to work together. At that time, the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance worked together to attack the Xian Alliance. The Xian Alliance was suppressed to the point that they were forced to hide near the heavenly wind forbidden land. It was also a coincidence that the Alliance Master of the Xian Alliance, called May something, obtained a spiritual treasure. This spiritual treasure was different from ordinary spiritual treasures. It didn't have any offensive or defensive abilities, but it had the special ability to open a space tunnel. No one knew how Alliance Master May discovered the power of this realm. The Heaven Alliance also didn't have any special records. It only recorded that Alliance Master May of the Xian Alliance successfully refined the spiritual treasure and opened the door of the realm. She then sent all the cultivators of the Xian Alliance from the Yilan continent to the so-called 10,000 demon realm, a realm where demons live. She sent all the cultivators of the Xian Alliance to the 10,000 demon realm? Kong Chong was dumbfounded and exclaimed, "Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, donate it, and..." Chapter 4978. Of course not all the cultivators. If all the cultivators of the Profound Alliance had left, how could the Yilan continent still have the 9 transformations golden core cultivation technique? Long Shensi laughed. However, even if not all the cultivators had left, most of them had left. Because after the space passage opened, the cultivators who cultivated the 9 transformation golden core all felt that the heaven and earth spiritual energy of the 10,000 demon realm was suitable for their cultivation. Only a small number of cultivators who did not want to leave their homeland stayed. And the result? Holy Mother of Earth Spirit asked, is the Xian Alliance of the 10,000 demon realm particularly powerful now? The Xian Alliance of the 10,000 demon realm was destroyed long ago. Reverend Jin Sheng, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. How is that possible? Holy Mother of Earth Spirit said anxiously, that is the Xian Alliance, the same existence as the Heaven Alliance. And who told you they were destroyed? Reverend Jin Sheng said coldly, the 10,000 demon realm, as the name suggests, is the 10,000 demon realm. In a world where demons roam freely, can the human race survive? We can't cross the realm, not because we don't have the strength to cross the realm. It's because we haven't found the space passage to cross the realm. If there is a stable passage, we can cross the realm. But what about after crossing the realm? We are facing a different world, a different heaven and earth spirit chi, and a different enemy. Are we confident that we can survive? Reverend Jin Sheng is right. Long Shensi said, for thousands of years many seniors of the Heaven Alliance, and even the Tao Alliance, had the opportunity to cross the realm to the 10,000 demon realm. Of course, many seniors could not return safely, but there were some who returned. According to these seniors who returned, they had never seen the human race in the 10,000 demon realm, and there were seniors who were injured by the great saints of the demon race. According to these great saints of the demon race, 20 to 30% of the humans who moved to the 10,000 demon realm died in some wasteland. Most of them went to the place where the demon race gathered and built their own foundation. But the human race was an outsider after all. Although the Xian Alliance cultivators fought tenaciously and tried their best to survive, after tens of thousands of years, these cultivators were still killed by the demon race. Not many of them were left. Of course, the specific situation is unknown. Even the great saints of the 10,000 demon realm may not know, Taoist Master Jin Sheng said. But from then on, the 10,000 demon realm became a taboo of the Tao sects, and no one mentioned it again. As he spoke, Reverend Jin Sheng looked down at the bottom of the forbidden grounds and continued, so Holy Mother of Earth Spirit, even if you sense that the forbidden grounds is the demon realm, I'm afraid we can't casually enter. Holy Mother Earth Spirit hesitated for a moment before asking, then why didn't Senior May return to the Elin continent? How can crossing realms be as easy as we think? Using spirit treasures to lure profound alliance cultivators across realms is not a divine ability that we know of. Long Shensi smiled bitterly. Besides, there's no turning back. Since we're already in the 10,000 demon realm, it's almost impossible to come back. However, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit still shook her head and said, Lord Alliance Leader, times have changed. Previously, we did not dare to cross the border because the Yilin continent had a way to survive. But now that the chi of heaven and earth has changed, our cultivation path has been blocked. If there is a chance, we can go to the demon realm. 1 or 2 cultivators are courting death. Long Shensi laughed. Unless we take Senior May's space spirit treasure, all the cultivators of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance will move into the demon realm. Yang Xia smiled bitterly and said, can this old man say, Lord Alliance Master, are you daydreaming? Haha, of course. Long Shensi clapped his hands and laughed. I mentioned profound alliances crossing to remind everyone that crossing realms is not an easy thing. Unless it's a desperate situation, it's better not to think about it. Forget it, fellow Taoist Jin Sheng, take out your spirit weapon. Although we're not crossing realms, we still have to suppress the power of this realm. Fellow Taoists, Reverend Jin Sheng heard and said, I've already refined the spirit weapon. I wonder if you're familiar with the technique to activate it? Holy Mother of Earth Spirit curled her lips and said, Reverend Jin Sheng, although you're one of the few cultivators in the Heaven Alliance who can refine spirit weapons, you don't have to look down on us like this, right? We all have our own spirit weapons. Reverend Jin Sheng smiled slightly. With a wave of his cloak, several fist-sized green light balls fell in front of Long Shensi, Kong Chong, Yang Xia, and Holy Mother of Earth Spirit. Although the heaven wind forbidden land was howling and the power of the realm was surging, The green light was not extinguished by the power of heaven and earth. Instead, it was even brighter. Reverend Jin Shang said proudly, "The spirit weapon I'm refining today is different from what you know. So if you haven't familiarized yourself with the technique, I advise you to familiarize yourself with this spirit weapon first." Seeing a strange spirit weapon a few inches in size appear in the green light ball, Holy Mother of Earth Spirit couldn't help but gasp and exclaim, "Reverend Jin Shangyu, this isn't my Dao Sex spirit weapon." Kong Chong also fixed his eyes on it. Sure enough, the strange spirit weapon was like a strange beast. The strange beast's body was like a tiger, but this tiger had 8 heads, and each head was in the shape of a human. What's more, there were actually 10 tails at the end of the tiger. Moreover, the light of this spirit weapon flickered, and a kind of magnificence that could suck people's souls appeared strangely. Occasionally, the hurricane would pass through the light and blow on the spirit weapon, and the spirit weapon would twist as if it was alive, and a whistling sound that pierced straight into the Naiwan Palace was instantly produced. "This is a soul weapon!" Yang Xia cried out and pointed at the strange beast. "This is the great Wu Shaman of Wuming Mountain." Fellow cultivators, Reverend Jin Shang's expression couldn't be seen, but his voice was clearly filled with arrogance. He said, "Don't be blinded by one leaf. This spirit weapon looks similar to a soul weapon, but in fact I'm just borrowing the body of the great wind shaman, and using my Dao Sex method of refining spirit weapons to refine the core. In essence, it's still my Dao Sex spirit weapon." Long Shenxi waved his hand and took the spirit weapon. The dark green brilliance on the spirit weapon immediately covered his right hand like ink, but Long Shenxi could clearly see that under the dark green brilliance, strands of golden threads were as warm as the sun. Long Shenxi activated his magic power according to the method given by Reverend Jin Shang. Buzz buzz. A series of rumbling sounds came from the spirit weapon, and the great Wu shaman's body suddenly expanded. Long Shenxi felt as if the hurricane within a few miles to the left was under his control. "Good," Long Shenxi praised. "Fellow cultivator Jin Shang's refining technique is indeed amazing." "Thank you for the praise, Lord Alliance Leader." Reverend Jin Shang replied indifferently, and said to Yang Xia and the others, "Everyone, familiarize yourselves with the spirit weapon first. Wait for me to observe the wind and the power of the realm in this heaven wind forbidden land. Then we'll activate the spirit weapon together to suppress it." Okay. Kong Chong, the Earth Spirit Holy Mother, Yang Xia and the others did not dare to delay. They hurriedly activated their magic power to familiarize themselves with their respective spirit weapons, while Reverend Jin Shang activated his body. His cloak was filled with strands of black qi, and he rushed to the bottom of the forbidden land. "Senior." Reverend Shiyu saw that everyone had something important to do, and hurriedly said in a low voice, "It seems that today's matter is very important. Junior's strength is too low. If I stay here any longer, I'm afraid I'll affect your important matter." "That's true." Yang Xia looked at everyone who was waiting for him, and nodded. "I'll send you out." However, just as Yang Xia was about to activate his body, Long Shenxi raised his eyes and looked at Reverend Shiyu frowning. "Fellow cultivator Yang, we're about to make a move. Why do you want to create another problem? Let Shiyu stay here. No matter what, he's still at the late stage of the Great Ascension realm. If anything happens later, he can help." "Yes, I understand." Yang Xia thought for a moment, nodded, and then said to Reverend Shiyu, "Shiyu, there's no need for you to do anything. You only need to wait here. If anything happens, you can lend a hand and wait for me." "Yes, Junior understands." Reverend Shiyu was somewhat helpless. He looked around, raised his hand and waved. A magic treasure that looked like a jade plate flew into the air and covered his body. He said, "I'm afraid that Senior will activate this spirit treasure in a while. Junior will wait by the side." "All right." Yang Xia exhorted again. "This heavenly wind forbidden land is extremely dangerous. Don't be careless and don't go too far away from me." "Junior understands," Reverend Shiyu replied, and activated his body to stay 100 feet away from Yang Xia. He didn't dare to fly too far away. He had followed Yang Xia deep into the core of this heavenly wind forbidden land. Along the way, he had seen many wind tunnels and other things. He knew that with his Great Ascension realm cultivation, it wasn't enough to deal with these dangers. After a full meal, Reverend Jin Shang flew out from the depths of the hurricane and the laws of heaven and earth. The cloak around his body had dimmed a lot. Everyone. Reverend Jin Shang looked around at everyone and said, "Are you all familiar with the techniques and spirit treasures?" Of course, Kong Chong and the others didn't dare to be negligent, and they all answered seriously. Everyone was a supreme cultivator in the late stage of tribulation passing realm. Reverend Jin Shang's words were merely an order, a reminder and a preparation. After hearing everyone's answer, Reverend Jin Shang raised his hand. Wang. A spirit treasure that was a few feet in size was taken out. Aside from the size, the style of this spirit treasure was exactly the same as the ones everyone was using. As Taoist Master Jin Shang formed a hand seal, the spirit treasure soared into the sky, emitting a monstrous aura that enveloped an area of 100 miles. The spirit treasures in everyone's hands also emitted a rumbling sound as they fled into the distance. Set up the formation. Long Shenxi roared, and his figure quickly retreated. Yang Xia, Kong Chong, and the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit also flew in the direction of the spirit treasures in their hands. In just a short moment, the four of them stood in the four directions of east, west, north, and south. As they formed hand seals and activated their magic power, their respective spirit treasures also soared into the sky. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Thank you for all forms of support. Thank you for the support represented by Reverend Xiao and the other fellow Taoists. Chapter 49-79. Quick! The five of them chanted the incantation in unison. Rumble. Loud rumbling sounds could be heard from the 5 Tianwu spirit treasures. The dazzling rings of light appeared one after another, and the spirit treasures expanded rapidly. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the Tianwu spirit treasure in the center had expanded to several hundred zhang tall, and the other Tianwu spirit treasures around it had expanded to several hundred zhang tall. Every spirit treasure emitted many rings of light, and as the rings of light flashed, they controlled the heavenly wind and even the shattered space. The terrifying hurricanes and shockwaves from before were slowly being tamed. Not only that, the rings of light rotated and intertwined with each other, surging towards the Tianwu spirit treasure. Gradually they formed a huge ring of light. Although this ring of light was not fully formed, it had already enveloped the core of the heavenly wind forbidden land. Under the demonic green light, the heavenly wind in the heavenly wind forbidden land began to calm down. Seeing that the ring of light was about to form, Taoist Master Jin Shang's figure soared into the sky and landed below the Tianwu spirit treasure. Following the incantation, Taoist Master Jin Shang's body flashed with dark green lightning. His entire body slowly expanded until it was more than 3,000 zhang tall. He was like a god. Everyone. Taoist Master Jin Shang opened his mouth, and his voice was like thunder. Everyone give it your all. Success or failure depends on this. Roar. Long Shenxi and the other three roared in unison. Ignoring the loss of their lifespan, they circulated their magic power. Boom 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 boom. For earth-shattering sounds rang out, and the 4 Tianwu spirit treasures emitted powerful rings of light like stars. The 4 rings of light rushed towards the Tianwu spirit treasure in the center. Wherever the 4 rings of light passed, the scattered light from before was swept away. An absolute sealing force gradually formed below Taoist Master Jin Shang's body. Seeing that the 4 halos were about to reach him, Taoist Master Jin Shang roared and uttered a strange syllable. Then the dark green lightning around his body surged from his feet and rushed straight to the top of his head. When it reached the top of his head, Taoist Master Jin Shang raised his hands and formed a seal at the same time. A dark green lightning ring appeared in his hands. Finally, Taoist Master Jin Shang's hands landed on the Tianwu spirit treasure's 8 heads. Boom! Lightning flashed and thunder roared. A huge halo was born from the Tianwu spirit treasure. At the same time, the halos from the 4 guardian spirit treasures also flew over and merged together. Buzz buzz, the halo suddenly descended from the Tianwu spirit treasure and flew towards the forbidden land of Tianfeng. A power that could seal the sky and earth came out of the halo and covered the forbidden land of Tianfeng. The forbidden land of Tianfeng was covered by the halo. The forbidden land of Tianfeng was covered by the halo. The forbidden land of Tianfeng and the forbidden land of Tianfeng stopped. The forbidden land of Tianfeng and the forbidden land of Tianfeng stopped. Soon, a glittering and magnificent crack in the interface was about to be revealed. Under the magnificent light, the previously awe-inspiring Reverend Jin Shang's Dharma body rapidly shrank, as if it had consumed too much of its Dharma power. That's it, that's it. Suddenly, Kong Chang, who had been staring at the halo without blinking, shouted loudly. His body shook, and he gave up the Tianwu spirit treasure and rushed towards the seemingly calm realm crack. Ah, where? Yang Xia was taken aback. He looked at the realm crack in confusion. Although the forbidden land of Tianfeng and the forbidden land of Tianfeng were colliding with each other, colorful lights flashed, and all kinds of terrifying fluctuations were produced, he did not sense the aura that Kong Chang had mentioned earlier. Yang Xia shouted in a low voice, somewhat surprised. At the same time, the corner of Reverend Shi Yu's mouth twitched faintly. An indescribable expression appeared in his eyes. Boom! Kong Chang had just moved, but he had not even landed 100 feet. Suddenly, outside the 4 Tianwu spirit treasures, a rumbling sound came from the void. 6 figures flew out like ghosts. 5 of them rushed towards the 5 Tianwu spirit treasures, and the last one rushed towards the realm crack faster than lightning. Not good. Although the 6 figures were fast, and everyone's attention was focused on the realm crack. They were not on guard. But after all, everyone was a supreme cultivator. How could they not know that there was a change in the void? Yang Xia cursed inwardly. He reached out his hand to control the Tianwu spirit treasure above his head. But at this moment, the figure flying in front of him had already crossed the void and appeared in front of him. Wasn't it his most familiar enemy? Wanderer Fubo? And as itinerant Fubo approached, a blob of aqueous light suddenly flew out from his chest. A slender but ferocious-looking mermaid flew out of the aqueous light. She opened her mouth and sent a surge of aqueous light at Yang Xia. The Taoist Alliance? Damn it, why are they here? Yang Xia turned pale with fright. He raised his hand to activate his magic power to deal with the attack. At the same time, he hurriedly looked down. He saw that Reverend Ji Yan had already crossed the halo and rushed into the realm crack. It seemed that he had arrived much earlier than Kong Chang. Yang Xia was facing Wanderer Fubo. How could the other cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance be lucky? Kong Chang had only flown down 300 meters when the patriarch of the Yi family arrived in the form of light. He waved a jade rui in his hand and blocked Kong Chang's body. The jade rui's light was like a sword, and the tip of the sword could pierce through the void. Even someone as powerful as Kong Chang did not dare to move forward recklessly. He could only wave his hand, and a 5-colored light fell and blocked the jade rui. He looked very surprised. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit was looking at the direction of the halo, but her intuition made her startled when the change occurred. Before Fairy Mo Yun, who was attacking her, could get close to her, a fist-sized green mark on her snow-white left arm suddenly emitted a halo. Other strange objects similar to green vines rushed out of the halo and rushed into the air like a huge net. It was the spiritual plant Yin Yong that the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit had sealed on her left arm. As soon as the Yin Yong appeared, a cold and earthy aura permeated the area within 50 kilometers. Even the spiritual chi of heaven and earth showed signs of being blocked. Without any accident, Fairy Mo Yun crashed into it. Damn it! Fairy Mo Yun cursed in a low voice. She did not want to face this female cultivator with the psychic technique. Unfortunately, she was the only woman among all the cultivators, so she could only choose the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit. Seeing that the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit had released the spiritual plant, she did not dare to be careless. She pointed her left hand, and a red golden hammer rushed out. The hammer shadow was like a mountain, and it crashed toward the Yin Yong with a rumble. At the same time, Fairy Mo Yun waved her right sleeve. Quack quack. With a chuckle, a parrot with flame-like feathers flew out. The parrot opened its mouth and laughed. It looked at the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit and teased. What a beautiful girl. However, with this sound, the parrot flapped its wings. Whoop! Flames gushed out from its wings and ignited the Yin Yong within a few kilometers. The Yin Yong twitched violently as if it was in extreme pain. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's body trembled slightly, and an earthy yellow mist gushed out from her body. A heavy aura gushed out from the mist. Long Shenxi was the #1 expert of the Heaven Alliance, so his opponent was naturally Old Man Guqiong. Although Old Man Guqiong seemed to be slower than Wanderer Fubo and the others, he arrived first. When Long Shenxi looked up at the sky, Old Man Guqiong's body had already elongated and twisted like a bolt of lightning. In a few breaths of time, he had already approached Long Shenxi. Just as Long Shenxi raised his hands in surprise, layers of blood runes appeared on his wrists and surged toward his body. Roar! Old Man Guqiong let out a low roar and raised his hand. A flame shadow that was several acres large rushed out from his hand. It shattered the void and imprisoned the space around Long Shenxi. This imprisonment was a bit strange. As soon as the restriction appeared, tiny flames appeared around Long Shenxi and pierced toward him. The blood runes that looked like they were being washed by spring water began to gradually collapse under the flames, and waves of spiritual power scattered from Long Shenxi's body. Roar! Long Shenxi seemed to be caught off guard, but he let out a roar and his body suddenly expanded. The dragon horn on his head flashed with 9-colored light, and this light broke through the flames and opened up space. A 9-colored dragon rushed out of Long Shenxi's body and pounced toward Old Man Guqiong with its claws and fangs. As for Reverend Jin Sheng, because he had activated the Heavenly Wu Spirit Treasure, his body shrank rapidly, and his cloak fluttered slightly in the wind. As the light dimmed, Yu Hongzi arrived on the wind. He didn't even get close to Reverend Jin Sheng as he waved his hands in the air. A gust of wind condensed to form a sword of wind. Following a flash of clear light on Yu Hongzi's arm, the sword of wind suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared a few breaths later, the sword of wind had already pierced Reverend Jin Sheng's back. The space where the sword of wind landed collapsed as a force that could shatter mountains tore Reverend Jin Sheng's cloak out of shape. The 6 supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance had prepared for a sneak attack, and they had the advantage in numbers. Not only was the spiritual item that the 5 cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance had been looking for going to fall into Reverend Ji Yan's hands, but the 5 cultivators themselves were about to be injured by the cultivators of the Tao Alliance. However, at this moment something strange happened. A cloud of black gas gushed out from the cloak that had been deformed by Yu Hongzi's wind sword, and this black gas turned into the shape of a human face. The facial features of this face were very clear, and it even looked somewhat handsome. The face looked at Yu Hongzi and grinned. "Yu Hongzi, you've been tricked." "What?" When Yu Hongzi saw that he had succeeded and heard such a voice, he could not help but be shocked. However, before he could do anything, the cloak suddenly disappeared, and the face in the black gas was once again hidden. Taoist Master Jin Xing had already turned around at some point, and in the hand hidden under the cloak, another Heavenly Wu Spirit Treasure appeared in front of Yu Hongzi. PS. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, or give it a tip. Thank you for the support represented by Reverend Xiao and other fellow Taoists. Chapter 4980. Why is there another spiritual treasure? Yu Hongzi seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. Ignoring the wind sword that was about to pierce Reverend Jin Sheng's chest, he shouted, "Fellow cultivators, run! We've fallen into the Heavenly Alliance's ambush." Along with this cry, Yu Hongzi's body disappeared as if it was fading. Now that things have come to this, how can I escape in time? Reverend Jin Sheng looked at the wind sword that was about to pierce his chest and said flatly. He raised his hand, and the Heavenly Wu Spiritual Treasure, which was several feet long, turned into a stream of light and soared into the sky. As the stream of light broke through the sky, the surrounding void was torn apart, and countless black and white shadows danced in the air like small snakes. In this light shadow, the wind sword once again turned into a hurricane and scattered in the air. Boom! The Heavenly Wu Spirit Treasure collided with the huge Heavenly Wu Phantom in the air, and a deafening sound rang out. As this sound rang out, a strange green light rushed out from the Heavenly Wu Spirit Treasure's 10 tails and swept towards the halo that suppressed the power of the realm. This green light fell much faster than the halo and landed on the halo almost as soon as it appeared. Although the green light brushed past Reverend Ji Yan, who was falling rapidly, he did not feel anything strange. Of course, Reverend Ji Yan knew that he had fallen into the Heavenly Alliance's trap, so he did not dare to stay. As the green light flashed, he also wanted to teleport away while the space was still calm. When the green light landed on the halo, nothing special happened. It merely dyed the entire halo green. However, the moment the halo turned green, it was as if tens of thousands of bulls were roaring at the same time. The green halo suddenly soared into the sky and turned into hundreds of light thorns that pounced on the humans in the sky above the forbidden area. In particular, the realm storm and space force that had been suppressed by the halo gushed out like a volcanic eruption and pushed the light thorns toward Old Man Guqiong and the others. Although Jiyan Zhenren and Yu Hongzi had already teleported away, they were still forced out of the void by the power of heaven and earth. Seeing the surging realm storm, everyone's expression changed drastically. Even Xiaohua could not resist this realm storm, so how could Old Man Guqiong and the others survive? In the blink of an eye, the storm had already arrived beneath everyone. The members of the Heavenly Alliance were naturally prepared. They did not need to activate any Dharma power. The Tianwu spiritual treasure above their heads had already shown green brilliance to protect them. Although Yang Xia looked at the soaring realm storm with a puzzled expression, he already understood that there must be a secret that he did not know about. However, when he thought of the secret, Yang Xia thought of another person. Without hesitation, he cried out, "Not good, Shiyu." Taoist Master Shiyu had left Yang Xia earlier and stood outside the Heavenly Wu Spirit Treasure Array formation. At this time, the realm storm soared into the sky. With his late Great Ascension realm cultivation, how could he resist it? However, when Yang Xia turned to look at Taoist West Moon, his face became even uglier. This was because Taoist Master Shiyu was standing in the direction that Reverend Ji Yan had escaped. Although Reverend Ji Yan had not escaped from the realm storm, he was not far away from Taoist Master Shiyu. Unfortunately, the realm storm was too powerful. Before the storm could drown Taoist Master Shiyu, the aftermath of the realm storm had already injured him. If Taoist Master Shiyu had not released a bell-shaped spiritual treasure to protect him, he would have been a cold corpse by now. Even so, Taoist Master Shiyu's spiritual treasure could no longer block the realm storm. The power of the realm storm had already torn apart the bell-shaped spiritual treasure's light shadow and crazily hit the spiritual treasure's body. Taoist Master Shiyu could only protect Taoist Master Shiyu. The two of them were tumbling in the realm storm like bullets. If Taoist Master Shiyu was already in such a state, how could the other cultivators fare any better? When Old Man Guqiong heard Yu Hongzi's scream, he did not escape at all. Instead, he slapped the top of his head. With a bang, a square fragment rushed out. This fragment slid through the air and turned into a bluestone that was dozens of feet large before falling under Old Man Guqiong's feet. Seeing Old Man Guqiong's quick reaction, Long Shenxi admired him. All of this was his plan. He naturally knew how powerful the realm storm was, so he did not chase after it and only hid under the Tianwu spirit treasure. However, when he saw Old Man Guqiong activate the spirit treasure, he was shocked. Indiscriminate destruction? How did it end up in your hands? Old Man Guqiong did not answer Long Shenxi because the realm storm had already drowned him. Although the indiscriminate destruction spirit treasure protected Old Man Guqiong, no one could match the power of the realm storm, not even Old Man Guqiong. He was like a small boat floating helplessly in the storm. The Yi family ancestor, Wanderer Fu Bo, Yu Hongzi, and Fairy Mo Yun all released their magic treasures and spirit treasures to protect themselves, but they were all injured by the realm storm. Of course, the Tianwu spirit treasure began to shake violently under the impact of the realm storm, and its light became weaker and weaker. Withdraw. Seeing that the Heavenly Wu spirit treasure was unable to hold on any longer, Long Shenxi let out a low roar and raised his hand to point at the Heavenly Wu spirit treasure above his head. A series of cracking sounds came from the Heavenly Wu spirit treasure. The 10 tails that were swaying in the storm broke apart inch by inch, and the 8 human faces also shattered into pieces. When the tiger-shaped shell fell off, a golden dragon shape appeared from the core of the Heavenly Wu spirit treasure. Seeing the dragon shape appear, Long Shenxi did not dare to be careless. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. The moment the essence blood touched the spirit treasure, it immediately seeped into it. Furthermore, the dragon blood Dharma body that had hidden in his physical body due to the appearance of the realm storm rushed out again. Roar! Long Shenxi's dragon blood Dharma body actually left his body and landed in the spiritual treasure. Oh my god! Kong Chang obviously didn't know that there was a dragon-shaped core inside the Tianwu spiritual treasure. Moreover, this dragon-shaped core was so ferocious. He couldn't help but cry out in excitement. This is a spiritual treasure that was tailor-made for the Alliance Master. The dragon blood celestial body controlled the dragon-shaped spirit treasure. But it did not rush toward Old Man Guqiong or the Realm Storm. Instead, it rushed toward the Tianwu spirit treasure that was closest to it. In the Realm Storm, the dragon-shaped spirit treasure was like a rainbow, and its momentum was unparalleled. In just a moment, the Tianwu spirit treasure was shattered and the 4 dragon-shaped spirit treasures were swallowed by Long Shenxi's dragon blood celestial body. Roar! After the 5 dragon-shaped numinous treasures fused into one, they raised their heads and roared angrily. Dragon roars filled the air, and as they roared, the dragon-shaped numinous treasures expanded rapidly. They began to swim rapidly, and in an instant their heads and tails connected. The dragon-shaped spirit treasure flew faster and faster until it finally formed a golden ring. A vast and unparalleled restrictive force was generated again, and Long Shenxi's dragon blood celestial body left the dragon-shaped spirit treasure and returned to Long Shenxi's body. Buzz! The ring formed by the dragon-shaped spirit treasure fell again and covered the realm storm under the heavenly wind forbidden zone. The magnificent light and shadow appeared again. Now that the realm storm had calmed down, Elder Guqiong and the others reappeared above the heavenly wind forbidden zone. Not only were Elder Guqiong and Ji Yan in a sorry state, but Yu Hongzi and the others were pale. The confident Long Shenxi knew that these cultivators of the Dao Alliance were injured. As for why they didn't escape, he and Elder Guqiong knew that it was too late. They might not be able to escape under the full force of the experts of the Heavenly Alliance, so they might as well fight to the death with their numbers. However, Long Shenxi still had a smile on his face and said leisurely, Daoist Guqiong, how does the realm storm feel? The wind is blowing before the storm. Long Shenxi, are you going to make it rain again? Elder Guqiong smiled and waved his hand. Ji Yan, the Yi family ancestor, Wanderer Fubo, Yu Hongzi, and Fairy Mo Yun spread out. The Yi family ancestor charged towards Kong Chang, Wanderer Fubo charged towards Yang Xia, Yu Hongzi and Fairy Mo Yun flew towards Holy Mother Earth Spirit, Ji Yan landed in front of Reverend Jin Shang, and Elder Guqiong himself charged towards Long Shenxi. Damn it! Why didn't you let the realm storm kill these shameless cultivators of the Dao Alliance? Holy Mother Earth Spirit cursed when she saw Yu Hongzi and Fairy Mo Yun surrounding her. Although Yu Hongzi and Fairy Mo Yun were injured, they were still late-stage tribulation-passing cultivators. How could she be their match? Moreover, she knew that after the two of them joined forces to injure her, they would join forces with another person to attack the other cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance. The Heavenly Alliance was going to suffer today. Long Shenxi, I didn't expect you to set up such a trap in the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Zone. Elder Guqiong landed in front of Long Shenxi and took out a chain-like spiritual weapon. He had a mocking smile on his face. It's a pity that you thought of the beginning but not the end, right? However, I'm very curious. How did you know that we would be here? Fellow Daoist Guqiong, you overestimated Daoist Ji Yan's arrangement. Long Shenxi leisurely looked at Daoist Shiyu, who was hiding in the distance, and replied indifferently, although Shiyu is a seed that the Heavenly Alliance placed in the Dao Alliance, he grew up in the Dao Alliance and cultivated in the Dao Alliance. In order to not be discovered by the Dao Alliance, the Heavenly Alliance didn't dare to use any restrictions. Apart from the contact that occurs once every 10 years, the Heavenly Alliance doesn't know what happened to Shiyu. Humans are the strangest thing. After a long time they will forget even their roots. There is a saying in the mortal world, a close neighbor is better than a distant relative. This old man doesn't think that the thin bloodline of the Heavenly Alliance can restrain him from teaching the Chongxi sect. Vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it and give it a tip. Thank you for the support represented by Daoist Xiao and the other fellow Daoists. Chapter 4981. So you tried to probe Shiyu after he returned? Immortal Ji Yan asked Long Shenxi as he stared at Immortal Jin Shang's shadowy figure under the cloak. At this moment, the dragon-shaped spiritual treasure had covered the realm crack, and the heavenly wind had gradually calmed down. Yes, there must have been a lot of probing. But Shiyu is a cultivator in the late stage of the Great Ascension realm. Unless we use some extreme methods, how could we find out the secret in his heart? Long Shenxi nodded. But if we use those methods, it would be a waste of Shiyu's great ascension realm cultivation. So you spread the news about the heavenly wind forbidden area? Immortal Ji Yen sighed. Yang Xia also realized what was going on and shouted, Alliance Master. I only said it casually. How could you be so sure it was Shiyu? It's very simple. Long Shenxi laughed. Aside from you, all of us knew about this arrangement. That's why we didn't tell anyone. Only Shiyu knew. Thus, if someone from the Dao Alliance came, it was definitely Shiyu who leaked the news. Not necessarily. Although he saw Immortal Ji Yen saving Immortal Shiyu, Yang Xia was still unwilling to believe that it was Immortal Shiyu who leaked the news about the heavenly wind forbidden area. He said, I didn't keep it a secret. Maybe other people know about it too. Yang Xia, you don't have to rely on luck anymore. Long Shenxi said indifferently. The truth is in front of us. Shiyu is a spy sent back by the Dao Alliance. Although he still uses Mei Xuanling's name, he's actually a disciple of the Chongxi sect. Immortal Shiyu heard this from afar and felt extremely embarrassed. He knelt down in the air and kowtowed. This junior has let senior down. Alas, it's not your fault. Yang Xia seemed to be a little sad. He waved his hand and said, I trusted you too much. The more Yang Xia did not scold Taoist West Moon, the more Taoist West Moon felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. After all, ever since the Dao Union returned to the Heaven Union, the Heaven Union had given him a lot of honor. Yang Xia had also given him a lot of care and concern. These were like invisible poisonous snakes that were devouring his Dao heart. Long Shenxi glanced at Taoist Master Shiyu and Yang Xia before looking at old man Gu Qiong. He said coldly, however, this old man knew that you would come to ambush us, so I asked Taoist Master Jin Sheng to refine 2 spiritual treasures to lure you into the trap. I also didn't tell Yang Xia about Taoist Master Jin Sheng. Humph! When I heard the news from West Moon that the 4 of you came to the forbidden area of Heavenly Wind, I knew that there must be more of you. Ji Yen Spiritual Master retorted. That's why I summoned 6 Supreme Cultivators. So, even if our Heavenly Alliance has another Sage Jin Sheng, even if we have injured most of you, we will still fall into your trap? Long Shenxi smiled and asked. Upon hearing Long Shenxi's question, Ji Yen Spiritual Master's heart skipped a beat. He knew that this was not good, but he had used a secret skill to ambush old man Gu Qiong in the void. When they appeared later, they did not find other cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance nearby. Could it be that the Heavenly Alliance had other ambushes? Haha. At this moment, a strange laughter came from Taoist Master Jin Sheng's cloak again. The cloak was lifted, and a thin cultivator with a pale face flew out from the black smoke. There was an indescribable sneer on his face. Bright Moon Householder? Ji Yen Spiritual Master's face turned pale when he saw this cultivator, who was at the Unifying Path Primordial Spirit Realm. He did not dare to stand still in the air anymore. He quickly retreated and exclaimed, When did you come out of seclusion? Since you have come to the Heavenly Alliance's Heavenly Wind Forbidden Area, as the Deputy Alliance Leader of the Heavenly Alliance, how can I not come out of seclusion to welcome you? Kill. The cultivator named Bright Moon Householder said coldly. After he stepped out, he did not give Ji Yen any chance to catch his breath. His whole body emitted bright moonlight, and he waved his hand. A scythe-shaped spiritual treasure broke through the air and turned into a dazzling light that was 10,000 feet long as it slashed toward Ji Yen's spiritual master. The brilliant light was so cold and sharp that even the heavenly wind couldn't block its killing intent. The brilliant light split open the space and was about to land on Reverend Ji Yan's bell-shaped spirit artifact. However, the bell-shaped spirit artifact also created layers of afterimages and blocked the surrounding space. Long Shenxi and the others roared when they saw Bright Moon Householder attacking. Taoist Master Jin Sheng even moved his body to help the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit. A great battle between the supreme cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance and the Heavenly Alliance was about to break out. Wait! Right at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. Then with a loud bang the earth and the mountains shook. Violent waves of air came from outside the area where they were facing each other. They rushed toward the crowd and instantly annihilated them. In the midst of the waves of air, the crowd did not dare to attack rashly. They all activated their spiritual weapons and spiritual treasures to defend themselves. Then they looked toward the source of the waves of air with puzzlement. However, when they saw the situation in front of them, they were all dumbfounded. They saw that the source of the sound was where Reverend Shiyu had been standing. However, at this moment Reverend Shiyu did not look like a human anymore. A medium-sized void crack was slowly closing there, and Reverend Shiyu's badly mutilated body was struggling to float on the side of the void crack. Ji Yen's spiritual master looked at him and said in shock, "Why did you explode your nascent soul? Martial ancestor." Reverend Shiyu's head was already damaged. However, he still stubbornly said, "I was unfilial. I hid it from you since I was young. When you found out my secret, you did not kill me. Instead, you taught me personally. Although I know that you used me to fight against the Heaven Alliance, I am still grateful. After all, without your guidance, I could not have reached the late stage of the Great Vehicle Realm. However, I'm still a descendant of the Heaven Alliance. I don't want to betray my ancestors, so I completed my ancestors' mission and returned the Tao Alliance's nascent soul to the Tao Alliance. I don't owe the Tao Alliance anything." Child, Ji Yen's spiritual master bit his lips slightly. With tears in his eyes, he said in a low voice, "Why did you do this? Although I used you, didn't I make it clear that day? If you don't want to do it, you can do nothing. This old man really treats you as his own nephew." Unfortunately, Immortal Shiyu did not answer him. Instead, he looked at Yang Xia with difficulty and said, "Senior, although Junior has returned to the Heavenly Alliance and received many courteous treatment, and also felt the warmth of a descendant of the bloodline, but this warmth and courteous treatment really can't evoke Junior's old memories. I know that I have the bloodline of the Heaven Alliance, but I was raised by the Tao Alliance. I look at the smiles on the faces of the Heaven Alliance brothers, but I also think of the Tao Alliance brothers' concern for me. It's so hard for me. However, I've brought the Tao arts of the Chongyun sect and deceived the Tao Alliance's founding ancestor. I can be considered to have not let down the Heaven Alliance. After that, I'll return the Heaven Alliance's flesh and blood to the Heaven Alliance, and I won't owe the Heaven Alliance anything in the future." Child, Yang Xia was already sad. Now that he saw Immortal Shiyu in such a state, how could he not know that it was the Heaven Alliance and Tao Alliance's coercion that had forced this peerless cultivator into a dead end? When he heard this, he felt as if a knife had been twisted in his heart. He abandoned Wanderer Fubo and landed beside Immortal Shiyu's body in a flash. He carefully supported Immortal Shiyu and said in pain, "It's all my fault. I shouldn't have brought you here." Long Shenxi and Old Man Gu Chong's expressions changed slightly. After all, he was already a late-stage Mahayana cultivator. If his Tao heart had not been so damaged, he would not have detonated his nascent soul to cut off his escape route. Seniors of the Tao Alliance and Heaven Alliance. Immortal Shiyu ignored Yang Xia and continued, "When I returned to the Heaven Alliance from the Tao Alliance, I heard that a senior named Zhang Xiaohua had appeared on the Yilin continent. In his eyes there was no difference between the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance. There was only the two words, Tao Sect, and the importance of Tao Sect's inheritance. In order to pass down the inheritance of our Tao Sect's Xian Hua under the changes in the heaven and earth spiritual qi, he personally modified the nascent soul cultivation technique and the primordial spirit cultivation technique. He even publicized the two cultivation techniques to the world. If he could see it, how could you not see it? The great tribulation of heaven and earth is coming. If our Heaven Alliance and Tao Alliance still cannot work together to break the seal of the Heaven Sacrificial Abyss, our Tao Sect, how can we still exist on the Yilin continent? I am only a junior. I am not standing high and cannot see far. I can only say so much. Whether you listen or not, it is up to you seniors. I hope that in my next life, I can reincarnate in a world without the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance. I only want to live a happy life and cultivate painstakingly. My life and cultivation can be for the human race or for my own world. However, I do not want to be in any Tao sect." At this point, Immortal Shiyu actually could not catch his breath, and was unable to continue. Yang Xia hastily took out a golden core from his bosom, and sent it into Taoist Master Westmoon's mouth. After a few breaths, Taoist Master Westmoon's broken face flushed red again. He looked at Yang Xia and shook his head. "Senior, don't save Junior anymore. Junior's Tao heart is already broken. I no longer have any value in this world. Moreover, there are probably tens of millions of disciples just like me, and their Tao hearts can't possibly be perfect as well. Seniors, if you really feel sorry for your disciples, then listen to me and stop. Alas, Long Shenxi, Gu Qiong Old Man, Bright Moon Householder, and Reverend Ji Yen were ready to fight to the death today. However, when they heard Reverend Shi use heartfelt words before his death, they were all moved. They looked at each other and sighed. Although they couldn't let down their guard, they moved their bodies and gradually separated. You can thank you for the support represented by Immortal Shao and other fellow Taoists. Chapter 4982. How could the people of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance not think of giving up? This was especially true after the spiritual qi of heaven and earth appeared. However, after years of hostility, they had long become accustomed to it. The plan that they had set up for thousands of years would occasionally yield results. When the plan was effective, how could they be willing to let their years of hard work go to waste? What they lacked was an opportunity to discuss face-to-face, an opportunity to reach a compromise, and a way to retreat together. Xiaohua's appearance, the announcement of the spiritual root selection method, and the spiritual root cultivation method, and Taoist West Moon self-destruction and dying words had all contributed to this. The Alliance Masters of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance, as well as the Supreme Cultivators, had begun to size each other up and prepare their words in their hearts. However, in this brief moment of silence, before the dawn of peace arrived, absolute darkness suddenly descended. Boom! Another loud sound was heard as Long Shenxi, Old Man Gu Qiong, and the others sighed in their hearts. Just as Taoist West Moon was muttering, Taoist Jin Shang, who had quietly descended, suddenly rushed toward the golden dragon ring under the heavenly wind forbidden land. His cloaked body suddenly exploded like Taoist West Moon's self-destruction of his nascent soul. The loud sound not only lifted everyone's bodies, but also shook the golden dragon ring. Following this loud explosion, a sharp voice rushed into everyone's ears like a sharp sword. Alliance Master Hao Yu, the cultivators of the Tao Alliance have indeed been fooled and have gathered together. I'll open the restriction in the golden dragon ring, and use the power of the realm to kill Old Man Ji Yen and the others. When the Tao Alliance falls into the hands of the Heaven Alliance, don't forget our previous agreement. As he spoke, Taoist Jin Shang's exploded body turned into a huge demonic shadow. Although the demonic shadow's aura dropped rapidly from the late stage of the crossing tribulation realm, it was still in the demon emperor realm. The demonic shadow turned into a blood-red light and black gas that rapidly rushed into the golden ring of the dragon image. The blood-red light and black gas were like a treasured saber used to slay dragons. Wherever they fell, the huge golden ring was cut apart. The huge dragon image struggled in pain and quickly retreated. When the golden light and the dragon image disappeared, several demonic auras surged, and a demonic weapon covered in blood-red flames was revealed. This demon artifact was different from the demon artifacts Xiaohua had seen before. Demonic patterns appeared on it, and after devouring the demon emperor's blood shadow and demon qi, they turned into huge demons. These demons soared into the sky and pounced on venerable Ji Yen and the others with the power of the realm. The scattered demon qi was like ink that dyed the space. Damn it! Seeing this, venerable Ji Yan's complexion changed greatly. He raised his hand and pointed at Bright Moon Householder, cursing, "Bright Moon, you old thief, I was wondering why you had been in seclusion for so many years. No wonder your heavenly alliance sealed off the sacrificial abyss, and didn't allow the nascent soul cultivation method to pass to my Tao alliance. So, your heavenly alliance is actually crazy enough to cooperate with the devil race to exterminate my Tao alliance? Is your heavenly alliance still a branch of my Tao sect? Damn it, Bright Moon Householder naturally wanted to say, we were deceived by Reverend Jin Shang. No, it's the demon's trick. However, when Bright Moon Householder flew out of Reverend Jin Shang's cloak, the spiritual treasure refined by Reverend Jin Shang first turned into a heavenly Wu spiritual treasure, then into a dragon-shaped spiritual treasure, and finally revealed its true appearance. It was a demon artifact. How could Venerable Ji Yen, Old Man Gu Qiong, and the other supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance not believe that the Heavenly Alliance was cooperating with the devil race? Moreover, when the demon artifact was born, The demonic flame was already soaring to the sky. Moreover, the realm storm, which had been suppressed just now, attacked again. How could Bright Moon Householder argue with the power of the realm? How could Long Shenxi and the others explain themselves? Old Man Guqiong and the others had already launched their attacks. Old Man Guqiong waved the spiritual treasures in his hand like a chain, and a series of dreamlike multicolored lights appeared and covered the demon artifact and the demon artifact, as well as Long Shenxi. Roar! Long Shenxi naturally wouldn't resign himself to his fate, and as blood-red light surged around his body, a multicolored golden dragon rushed out. As it roared, it shattered the nearby void. However, when the golden dragon rushed out, the demonic energy in the vicinity rushed into it. Oh no! Long Shenxi turned pale with fright. This was because demonic patterns suddenly covered the golden dragon's body, and a terrifying consciousness followed the dragon blood celestial body and invaded his consciousness. Long Shenxi suddenly realized that when he was controlling the dragon-shaped spiritual treasure, Reverend Jin Shang's demonic blood had already invaded his bloodline. Damn it! Long Shenxi's consciousness became somewhat fuzzy, and the dragon image, which was controlled by the demonic patterns, danced crazily and expanded. The dragon tail entered the void. And it didn't just disturb the core of the heavenly wind forbidden land, it even affected its borders. At the same time, the multicolored dream of the heavens also invaded the void at the forbidden land's borders. Chaos. The entire heavenly wind forbidden land was in chaos. The realm storm tore through space, and all kinds of spiritual treasures and spiritual treasures collided with each other with all their might. The power to tear apart mountains and sever rivers was chaotically rushing to every corner of the forbidden land, and a destructive aura poured out from the demonic flames into every corner of the forbidden land. Just as the Taoist sect's supreme experts were engaged in a life and death battle, where the demonic dragon image's dragon tail was torn apart, and where the dream of the heavens was filled with multicolored dream of the heavens, a spatial crack suddenly appeared. As the light flickered, Xiaohua stepped through the air with an inexplicably surprised expression. Oh my! Seeing such a chaotic situation, Xiaohua couldn't help but be speechless. For a Netherwind will, for the sake of fighting for the chance to enter the Lost Land Supremes, you don't have to fight so hard, right? Just as Xiaohua's figure appeared, the chaotic realm force had already engulfed him. The familiar Yilan continent's heaven and earth law, and the 10,000 demon realms law of arrays intertwined. Xiaohua's body involuntarily emitted a dark gold color, and slowly expanded. An aura that surpassed the 9th grade origin energy gradually emitted from Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua's words were naturally a joke, because his gaze had already landed on the remains of Taoist Master Shi Yu. Previously, when Yang Xiao flew to Taoist Master Shi Yu's side, he had originally raised his hand to support Taoist Master Shi Yu. However, when the demonic shadow appeared from within Taoist Master Jin Shang's cloak, the situation changed again. The demonic weapon turned into a devil head that was mixed in the realm storm, and attacked Wanderer Fubo. Wanderer Fubo was also furious and attacked in anger. Yang Xiao was already busy with his own matters, so how could he still care about Taoist Master Shi Yu, who was about to die? Therefore, Taoist Master Shi Yu's broken body was like a withered leaf in the wind and waves of the realm storm. It was wantonly thrown around and gradually torn apart. Even around his soul that was about to leave his body, there were already a few little devils madly chasing after him. If not for the realm storm blocking them, they would have already pounced over to devour him. This was the final radiance of the setting sun. Taoist Master Shi Yu's head that was missing a piece revealed a layer of sickly red. His already muddled mind suddenly became clear for a moment, and when he opened his eyes, he saw Xiaohua's flickering golden body. Senior Zhang? Under the laws of the Yilan continent and the 10,000 demon realm, Xiaohua's golden body expanded. His appearance was actually already blurred. However, Taoist Master Shi Yu's mind was connected to Xiaohua's illusion. He shouted, quickly save my Dao Sex Senior. Taoist Master Shi Yu really wanted to say a few more words and tell the truth of the matter to this Senior Zhang that he had accidentally recognized. Unfortunately, his little bit of life force was completely maintained by Yang Xiao's golden core. Now that the golden core's effect had already passed, even if he wanted to say a single word, he couldn't. Seeing Taoist Master Shi Yu's eyes collapsing and the halo of hope being annihilated, Xiaohua couldn't help but feel heartache. He released his netherworld origin power and absorbed Taoist master. She used soul into the inside of the space. He sighed and said, "Don't worry. Since this old man is here, I won't let them kill each other again." After absorbing Taoist master Shi Yu's soul, Xiaohua released his divine sense to take a look. Unfortunately, this heavenly wind Forbidden Land's realm storm had been suppressed several times. Now it was like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins and was incomparably unruly. It had long surpassed the original heavenly wind Forbidden Land's range, and its power had increased by several times. Within 10,000 li, the space was completely twisted and all kinds of destructive fluctuations surged out disorderly. Xiaohua's divine sense had just been released, but it was already twisted by these fluctuations and the realm storm. It couldn't go very far. Not to mention Xiaohua's divine sense. Even Xiaohua's aura of 10th grade origin power couldn't suppress the whole place like usual under the power of heaven and earth. Fortunately, Xiaohua had already achieved the body of law. He could see a few things clearly with the naked eye. Within the realm storm, the experts of Tao Alliance and Heaven Alliance each occupied a corner. While fighting each other, they were also resisting the realm storm. They were completely focused and didn't dare to slack off in the slightest. They were afraid that they would fall into the realm storm and be taken advantage of by the enemy. Therefore, they didn't even notice the appearance of Xiaohua, a great sage of the human race. After Xiaohua saw it, he couldn't help but feel anxious. It was because it was hard to make a choice in the realm of death. Every supreme cultivator would inevitably act recklessly for their own survival. If he hesitated for a moment, there might be cultivators who would die. Therefore, Xiaohua roared and waved his hand. The Kunlun mirror appeared in the space. As Xiaohua raised his hand and pointed, the Kunlun mirror expanded rapidly amidst a buzzing sound. On the surface of the Kunlun mirror, a misty light pillar immediately appeared. It crossed the sky and fell to the bottom of the Forbidden Land of Heaven Wind, where the realm storm rushed out. However, the realm storm was so powerful. When the realm storm hit the light pillar, it tore it apart. When the realm storm hit the Kunlun mirror also shook violently in the realm storm. Its brilliance suddenly decreased. "Fellow Taoists, please show yourselves." Seeing this, Xiaohua made up his mind. With a thought, the Thunderbolt Immortal and the other clones flew out from the space. "Fellow Taoist Devis," Xiaohua roared, "you control the Kunlun mirror and suppress the realm storm. Everyone else, follow I to clean up the mess." "Yes, we understand," the clones replied in unison. Their voices didn't travel too far before they were drowned out by the realm storm. However, even though the realm storm drowned out the voices of the clones, it couldn't stop them from reaching the 10th stage of the origin energy realm. In a flash, several clones landed in different parts of the Forbidden Land of Heaven Wind. PS. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, gift, and thank you for all forms of support. Thank you for the support represented by Taoist Xiao and the other fellow Taoists. Chapter 4983. Seeing Xiaohua leaving with his doppelgangers, the Celestial smacked his lips, held his forehead with one hand and muttered, "Damn it, isn't it just that I was a bit ruthless, fellow? I didn't have to treat me like this, right? I haven't exercised my muscles and bones since I woke up. Now that it's so lively, I can only fight against the power of the realm. It's really boring. Who can understand this kind of loneliness?" Although the Celestial was complaining, his tone was full of pride. He understood Xiaohua's plan in his heart. He knew that activating the Kunlun mirror to suppress the realm storm was the most important thing. Among all the doppelgangers, only he had the strength to do so. Therefore, after the Celestial finished speaking, he didn't dare to be the slightest bit negligent. He looked up to the sky and roared, revealing his celestial body. As the celestial body was created, 3 light pillars from the white skull hit the Kunlun mirror. Boom boom boom. The Kunlun mirror, which had already dimmed in the realm storm, suddenly emitted an explosive sound. Inexplicable runes appeared on the surface of the mirror. These runes were densely packed like a spider web. The runes divided the surface of the Kunlun mirror into many fragments, and each fragment flickered with a black and white halo. The Kunlun mirror was originally an ancient object with endless mysteries. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the supremes of various realms to know about it. Ever since Xiao Hua obtained the Kunlun mirror, he used it as a magic weapon to activate it. But after a long time, he had more and more tricks up his sleeves. This Kunlun mirror was only used as a cover for the space, only used to store people. He had long forgotten about its original power. Now that the realm storm was rampant in the critical moment, Xiao Hua remembered the Kunlun mirror's space travel ability, and asked the Celestial to control this ancient object. Sure enough, although Xiao Hua and the Celestial still didn't know the true power of the Kunlun mirror, the black and white halo on the Kunlun mirror rolled crazily. In the end, it formed a layer of clouds that was hundreds of miles wide, and a spatial power that was not inferior to the previous Tianwu Lingbao was born, enveloping the nearby space. Seeing this, the Celestial already knew that the power of the Kunlun mirror was enough to withstand today's crisis. Whoa! High up in the forbidden area, a whimpering sound suddenly sounded, and a black and white light pillar that seemed to be the beginning of the world crashed down, passing through the realm storm and hitting the realm crack. Seeing the crack appear, a familiar feeling arose from the bottom of his heart. Celestial was slightly stunned. Looking at the crack in the black and white light pillar, he wondered, this spatial fluctuation seems very familiar. Could it be? This spatial crack is one of the 9 spatial forces that Fire Phoenix King used to lure us into the ambush? The outline of the space crack was revealed, and it was different from the situation when the spiritual treasure was suppressing it. Not only was there no magnificent brilliance, even the realm storm and the space law fragment were not really suppressed. This was because the beam of light from the Kunlun mirror looked black and white, but in fact this black and white beam of light was formed by the tens of thousands of broken shadows on the Kunlun mirror. The reason why the Kunlun mirror could travel through space was because it had the ability to communicate with all kinds of space. Every broken shadow was actually a spatial passage. Even the supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance couldn't stop the terrifying realm storm, but when it fell into the black and white light pillar of the Kunlun mirror, it was divided into tens of thousands of storms, and these storms were led to different places by the Kunlun mirror's spatial power. The power of the realm storm had been reduced by more than half. If the Tianwu spiritual treasure and the dragon spiritual treasure were said to be a blockage, then the Kunlun mirror was a blockage. A blockage was a temporary solution but not a permanent solution. A blockage was a solution to the root of the problem. Therefore, although the realm storm in the heavenly wind forbidden area was not immediately suppressed like before, the wind was getting weaker and weaker. It could no longer cause harm to the supreme cultivators in the forbidden area. Celestial controlled the Kunlun mirror and guided the realm storm and the broken heaven and earth law in the heavenly wind forbidden area. The battle in the forbidden area had already ended. In the place where the laws of the Elin continent collided with the laws of the 10,000 demon realm, the strength of the supreme cultivators of the Elin continent was limited. It was impossible for them to reach the peak of the 9th level of essence qi. However, Xiao Hua and his clones were able to surpass the 9th level of essence qi. Under such a difference, even if the supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance worked together, how could they be a match for Xiao Hua alone? Not to mention that Celestial controlled the Kunlun mirror to clear the realm storm that was harmful to the supreme cultivators of the Elin continent. Xiao Hua and his clones were flying everywhere. At first, they didn't attract the attention of Long Shenxi and the others. However, when the clones got close to the supreme cultivators, these arrogant cultivators were shocked. Under the broken laws of the 10,000 demon realm, the demon Lord Shi's body turned into thousands of demon bodies. Demon flames danced on the demon bodies, and the demon heads roared. The pitch-black halo was shattered into pieces in the realm storm. However, no matter how the realm storm raged, it couldn't disperse the demon Lord Shi's supreme ferocious flames. Roar! The demon Lord Shi roared crazily. His ferocious flames were 10,000 times more arrogant than the demon heads that were attacking the cultivators of the Tao Alliance. The huge demon body fell like a mountain. Before it attracted the attention of the cultivators, it turned into 9 demon gods. The 9 demon gods landed in 9 different places. The faint demon runes flowed rapidly between the 9 demon gods. It looked like a demon array. However, it had nothing to do with the arrogant aura that enveloped the heavenly wind forbidden land. Facing 4 or 5 demon artifacts that were controlled by demon emperors, The pride in the Demon Lord Shure's heart didn't allow him to be too serious. Although the Demon Lord Shure wasn't serious, in the eyes of Fairy Mo Yun, Kong Chong, and the other cultivators of the Tao Alliance, it was another difficult test. Fairy Mo Yun, Kong Chong, and the others were shocked when they saw the aura that was even more ferocious than before. Demon Lord? How is this possible? When did the demon realm invade the Yilin continent? How can a demon lord appear in the heavenly wind forbidden land? However, before Fairy Mo Yun, Kong Chong, and the others could be on guard, another shocking change occurred in the heavenly wind forbidden land. Roar! As the 9 demon gods roared in unison, the light beam from the Kunlun mirror began to descend. The demon venerable's aura enveloped the entire forbidden heavenly wind. The demon weapons activated by the demon generals didn't dare to move at all. All the demon flames and blood shadows suddenly retracted under the supreme demon chi. Boom! 9 pitch-black demon chi mixed with the blood shadows descended from the sky. Not only did they land on the 5 demon weapons, they also landed in the 4 directions of the forbidden heavenly wind. Strangely, the demon bodies that were hidden in the 4 directions that hadn't been discovered by the Taoist cultivators trembled and revealed themselves in the demon chi. 4 identical demon emperors were devoured by the demon chi. Haha! The demon lord's unruly laughter sounded in the heavenly wind forbidden land. Damn it! So it's Demon Emperor Jingyu from the Eastern Ting demon territory. What's wrong with the Yilin continent? Demons have appeared in the 4 demon territories. How come none of you know about it? Are you all incompetent? Following the demon lord's laughter, the 9 demon gods turned into rolling black clouds and flew across the sky towards another direction. In that forbidden land, a demon dragon covered in demon runes stretched its 10,000 zhang long body, as if it wanted to overturn the heavens and the earth. While the archdevil sovereign was devouring the devil artifact, the battle between Fairy Mo Yun and the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit had also reached its climax. Fairy Mo Yun was already injured, so when she saw the devil artifact transform into a devil head, she was greatly alarmed. She didn't even think about it before urging her parrot spirit pet to attack first. However, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's spirit summoning technique was also formidable. Just as the parrot flapped its wings, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's Yin had already transformed into a gray, misty expanse that blotted out the sky and enveloped Fairy Mo Yun. However, the Yin couldn't unleash its full power within the realm storm, and could only restrain the parrot. Even so, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit waved a spirit artifact that looked like a tree branch and sent Fairy Mo Yun's body flying with a single strike. Moreover, the space within several dozen kilometers of Fairy Mo Yun was filled with a layer of earthen yellow restriction. No matter how Fairy Mo Yun retreated, the earthen yellow restriction would produce spikes that were over 100 feet long that attacked Fairy Mo Yun's flashing red spirit armor. On top of that, the several hundred feet long devil artifact transformed into a malevolent devil head and broke through the sky. It unexpectedly joined hands with the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit to attack Fairy Mo Yun. The aura of that devil head couldn't compare to that of Fairy Mo Yun, who was at the late stage of the crossing tribulation realm. In fact, Fairy Mo Yun's flowing cloud sleeves cut off the devil head's demonic energy. However, the devil artifact was very sturdy and didn't suffer any damage. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit didn't attack too fiercely, because she felt that there was something fishy about the appearance of the devil artifact. She didn't believe that Bright Moon Householder would collude with the devil race. But right at this moment, the Archdevil Sovereign appeared, and his demonic energy spread everywhere, causing the complexion of the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit and Fairy Mo Yun to change greatly. The two of them simultaneously urged their spirit pets and spirit plants, as well as their innate magical abilities to protect themselves. The strange thing was that the Devil Pillar only devoured the Devil Artifact. Then Taoists which descended from the sky. Whether it was Fairy Mo Yun of the Tao Alliance or the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit of the Heavenly Alliance, they were the supreme cultivators of the Yilin continent. They had seen and experienced a lot, and they had seen all the experts of the human race, the monster race, and the devil race. However, just as they escaped from the shock of the Archdevil Sovereign's aura, Taoists which transformed into a huge green light curtain and passed through the realm storm and landed on top of their heads. This was a realm storm that even Elder Gu Qiong and Long Shenxi didn't dare to face directly. However, this cultivator who looked like a sorcerer god passed through it so easily. The storm that covered the sun and the moon only seemed to flutter this cultivator's clothes and hair gently. Taoist, which emitted an inexplicably dangerous aura that was more turbulent than a mountain flood and tsunami. It engulfed Fairy Mo Yun and the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit. The two of them looked at each other and didn't dare to be careless. They released their spiritual pressure and circulated their magic power to resist the aura together. If their spiritual pressure was like a river, Taoist Witch's aura was like a wave. You can thank you for your support, represented by Spiritual Master Shao, and other fellow Taoists. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.